Wow, Neil Armstrong. Hey, wait a minute. You're supposed to be on the moon. I just saw it on TV.
Oh, there's a tape delay and with all solar winds.
Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method. In our field, it's by the seat of your pants. It's leaps of logic. It's guesswork.
You don't see the curvature of the Earth. That stuff is flat.
Piecing up the puzzle, need a buster bubble. Evil gonna crumble, yeah? Sit down and be humble. Got the ball, you about to fumble. You'll get mad, cause at this fight I'm about your uncle.
And then they call me the liar. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable the pathetic techniques that they have to use to prove their heliocentric model.
Vibes at the president, Jaren got the evidence. Eros laying Jesuits and Zachar is evident. That the earth electric and it's resonant. Your resident, this happens and I hope to settle in like some sediment. If we so wrong, why they lying to discredit it? That's not too intelligent. That's a guy, not an in court, but we ain't really in the settlement. It's time to awaken from the pseudoscience sedatives.
Blowbusters taking over. Bye bye moon man and rover. That's just so mediocre. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is. Blowbusters taking over. Gotta ride this roller coaster. But the truth is getting closer. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is.
Inner World Productions.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
And welcome everybody to Globebusters. Response to Professor Dave, the Earth is still flat. I'm your host, Bob Xanadude60, and we are back with another good show for you today. As I told you last week, we are going to start going after these guys straight up in their ridiculous debunking methods, because, you know, they just seem to get more and more absurd. And anybody that has ever watched a Professor Dave debunking or video knows that the way he operates is just primarily on ad-homs and straw man arguments. And he really, you know, he claims no science. What he does, he accuses others of just saying, oh, you just said nuh-uh. And then, you know, as I go through this video that we're going to go through today, about 90% of is him saying, nuh-uh, and if you don't understand it, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the dude is just a loser beyond belief. And, you know, Dave, you made a whole lot of money on that video. Your response to Globebusters is something like, what, 10 million views or 11 million views, something like that. You made thousands of dollars on it, and it was artificially pushed up to the top by YouTube, because they figured that, you know, that was really going to get the demographic, right? Well, obviously it got a lot of views, and you know, we've been trolled ever since then, you know, pretty much. But you know what, Dave, you have an offer here to debate one of us at any time in a fair, not a Glober forum, but in a fair, moderated forum, and you're going to get your butt kicked straight up. Why? Because you got nothing. You got nothing but ad-homs. That's your entire stick, and you don't know anything other than that. Any one of us could put you down in a heartbeat, and you know it, and I think that's why you're running away. So all the people that are Professor Dave fans that are, you know, that think that he could put us down so easily, go off and tell him, you know, hey, take on these Globebusters, and see what happens. Because you got nothing, pal. Absolutely nothing. So there you have it. All right. So we are going to cover that video today, which, I'm sorry that I have to make everybody sick because honestly, as I was going over it, I can't even stand to listen to the dude. He is so sarcastic and condescending. You just want to reach through the screen with a baseball bat and beat him over the head. It's unbelievable. But so we are going to get to that and take that video apart and also throw in a few extra good punches for good measure and see what his audience then, prompts him to do. But if you guys don't sit there and say, oh, yeah, you really need to prompt him to take us on into debate, one of us on into debate, and, watch what happens. So there you have it. All right. So let's go ahead and introduce the panel. And back from a week off or so is Jaron from Jaronism. How you doing today, Jaron?
Fantastic, Bob. Looking forward to today's show. It's good to go after the good old Not a Professor.
Yeah, definitely, Mr. Not a Professor.
Can I be Dr. Jaron for the show?
Yeah, yes, you can be Dr. Jaron. We can all be, whoever you want. I want to be Bob Nodell, triple PhD.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, hey, if you're going to go for it, why not, right?
Impressive
Can I be a Jesuit?
Yes.
You can, yes.
Oh, man. That's...
Watch out for that Iru guy, though. He goes after him.
Yep, no doubt. And speaking of Iru, we have with us Iru Landucci today. How you doing, Iru?
Hello, Bob. I'm doing great. After the Flat Earth conference, it's a little empty around, but I get used to.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's always the saddest part when the conference is over. You're like, what happened to everybody?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's such a good time, and then it's over, and you're like, oh man, this really sucks. So
Well, not at that point, but a little empty. Just that.
Yeah, that's true. But it's really nice having all the like-minded people around. That's always the best part of the conference, at least I thought. So
Yes. Yeah.
there you have it. Oh, D. Murphy says, I'm looking to go up against Professor Dave. He ain't going to get away with pulling that same condescending crap against a British guy. I'll rip him a new one. Yes, I'm sure you will, Dave. But and we're offering up our guy Austin, and I would just absolutely love to see one of you guys just take him apart. And we know it can happen. We absolutely do. But if Dave has any brains at all, he'll avoid it like the plague. But he's not too smart, so maybe he won't. Maybe he'll go for it. Who knows?
You might just need to ask somebody, one of those guys that he defers all the content to. He just has to ask them what they think.
Yeah, well, I think because Dave operates purely out of ego, we have to appeal to that side of him, and just point out to everybody what a coward he is for not standing up to the flat earthers, the stupid flat earthers, that he can't even win an argument with us. And, he thinks he won that argument with Dave, Flat Earth Dave. And all he did was ad-hom, just make stuff up and then make fun of people. It's sickening.
It's as bad as watching a movie it's as bad as critiquing a movie that you've never seen before, just complaining about it. You've seen those people do that all the time. Oh, that movie's terrible. Have you seen it? No.
Yeah.
How do you know it's terrible? It just is.
I heard. That's crazy. So, and that is also Mr. Kyle Adams with us. How you doing today, Kyle?
Doing really well.
Excellent. God, man, I bit my tongue earlier. Ow. And it's like really sore right now. So I'm drinking a lot of water to try and keep it mellow. I can't believe I did that. Have you ever done that? Oh, that hurts.
Yeah.
So anyway, if I sound a little slurry, that's why.
Anyway, I think Dave is going to probably say no because he wants to get paid that $1,000. Remember, for the doing it on his channel. That's probably his biggest gripe.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. We also have with us Mr. Zachary Zabala, or Good Times for All. How you doing today, Zach?
Hey, Bobo. Hey, everybody. Yeah, for today's show, I would like to be addressed as Cobra Commander. That's going to be my title for today's show, since everybody gets a title. Yeah. I was thinking Pope Jaron the First would have been a good one, Jaron, but Dr. Campanella works too.
That's hilarious. All right, and last but certainly not least, we have with us Mr. Austin Whitsitt from Whitsitt Gets It. How you doing today, Austin?
Doing great. Doing great. Cannot complain. Just fed the chickens some raspberries. They were stoked. Yeah. We'll see if Professor Dave will debate. I get hit up. It's probably the number one requested debate I've ever had. James from Modern Day Debate told me the same thing. Like one of the most requested debates they've had, by far. And we'll see what happens. I don't know. I have a bunch of people that are running up to me saying, "Why are you scared to debate Professor Dave?" And I'm like, I think you got that backwards, my guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can get into it. But I got the DMs, and the receipts to prove it. I challenged him to a debate 2.5 years ago. He said that I'm an ant and he's not going to propel my career. Save your breath, kiddo, and all this stuff. And, yeah, I guess a lot of people now are requesting it. So he has to save face and pretend that he'd accept it, but only on an anti-flat Earth. It's literally called Fight the Flat Earth. So that's not a particularly neutral platform.
I disagree. It's neutral. If you want it, you realize it's neutral.
Okay.
Yeah, that is about the most unneutral platform you could ever imagine.
All right. And then so he wanted to Fight the Tight Shirt as the host, and then MC Toon as the moderator. So it would be 3v1, right? Where MC Toon, I agreed to do a debate with him moderating, and I said, but you have to promise. I did it as a favor to my friend Trevor, because it was like something his cousin or something.
Trevor Missler?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay.
So his cousin's like an atheist, like globy, and so he begged me to debate him. And so I'm like, okay, whatever, just like as a friend, right? So I did it. It's MC Toon's channel, but I made him promise, like, no interrupting. I'm not debating you. No jumping in. No debating for him. No muting. Right? He's like, I promise. I'm just moderating. You have my word. And then, of course, he did all those things numerous times. Muted me repeatedly. Screamed over me. Jumped into debate. And every time I had him like stuck, he jumped into debate. And so, yeah, I mean, that guy's the worst moderator ever. I think anyone that any half a brain knows that Fight the Tight Shirt is a terrible, terrible moderator. Like, just he debates and screams and cuss. So anyway, it would be 3v1. I think that's kind of what he has to do. Professor Dave, I won't go too long in the intro, but Professor Dave admits that he just gets scripts written for him and that he doesn't really know about the stuff he talks about. He just reads a script. That's what he said. And that the person he gets his scripts for against Flat Earth is actually Fight the Tight Shirt. So basically, he wanted his script writer with him live to be able to help him out. And I think that goes to show you that when I didn't offer a neutral platform, he turned it down. That we all know who's actually scared of the debate. Like, we're even seeing this in Flat Earth with a few people, right? Like, if you're afraid of a fair, neutral debate, like with the non-bias platform and non-bias moderator, you probably just can't actually win the debate, and you know that. So,
Well, and you have all the advantage. You get science as your backing, and yet you can't even use that advantage. You have to cry and want a globe platform. It's hilarious.
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's totally ridiculous. That, and I'm sure you guys have been getting your comment section and your mailboxes filled up with the MC tuners that are saying, take this challenge, whatever it is. I haven't looked at it, and I doubt I will. Maybe I will. I don't know. But did any of you even know what it's about?
Yeah, it's about using a sextants to navigate on a flat Earth, and he basically says you can't use any of the actual data from the charts. So he just set it up to where you can't win, and you can't like use the actual thing we know that works, like the way you have to navigate on the Earth. And it's actually just an optical declination of the sky. They claim that it's the convexity of the Earth, and the fact that the sky does that, is just a fact. So we basically set it up where you can't win. That's all they ever do, right? They're just constantly liars. So I mean, that's basically what it is. It's just like a big thing for show.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That's exactly what I knew. It would be something that would be impossible to meet, given terms. It's kind of like what's his name, Wolfie, coming out and say, we'll do all this in great circle routes and in globe coordinates and plot a route. It's like, well, first of all, that isn't how you do it, and on the Gleason's map, and second of all, the Gleason's map is not a 3D projection. It's something completely different. So what they do again is they bring in something totally non sequitur. that is absolutely unrelated to the flat Earth model. And we're going to see this happen a lot today with Professor Dave. He will say, well, your flat Earth model is impossible because of such and such and such, right? And our globe works perfectly. And it's like, no, your globe doesn't work perfectly. Far from it. And it's got a lot of problems. And what, Dave doesn't know is that there's a lot of good, hard evidence behind some of the claims that we make, and of course we will talk about that. But man, these people, I mean, they are so desperate. It's beyond belief. So there you have it. All right. So one thing I'm going to show you guys first is Kyle Adams put out a video this week, and it's amazing because this video went around a few years ago, and I remember this interview, but I remember that Buzz said something different. There was something else very questionable about what he said. But when Kyle got a hold of this video this time, he said something that absolutely just shocked the hell out of me. And I asked Jaron about it. He had seen it. Austin had seen it. So I don't know if I went through a time warp or this is some sort of a weird Mandela effect. I don't know, man, but
totally missed my radar. So I'm just happy to find it. I was like, wow, this is a gem.
It is a gem. And I just, I've got to watch the rest of it to figure out what it was that I did see. Because I do remember this interview a couple years back, but holy cow.
Yeah, I had never seen it either. Like I did my moon landing call-in show, and I was inviting people to send me stuff, and someone sent it. I had never seen it until like a couple weeks ago. Pretty hilarious.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and play it, and then we'll throw it back out to you guys and see what you think. Here we go.
Once a month in St. George, Utah, with the help of the Flat Earth Clock app, we do an ice cream social with the different flat earthers in our area, where we talk about our recent adventures and latest discoveries. This month, a friend of mine shared some footage with me that I had never seen before that absolutely blew me away. Back in June of 2015, Buzz Aldrin did a question and answer session with Oxford Union, and in it, he said something that you just have to hear for yourself.
So this is going to take a format of a Q&A, so I'm going to ask several questions before opening it up to the audience. Lady in the second row, just there with blonde hair. We'll go to the gentleman waving his hand afterwards.
What was the scariest moment of the journey?
Scariest? It didn't happen. It could have been scary. Circuit breaker. Oh.
Wow. Just wow. Let's go back and watch that again really quick. This isn't tricky editing by any means. This is right there on the original source footage. I've got a link in this video's description if you want to see it.
What was the scariest moment of the journey?
Scariest.
Here he is repeating back part of the question to show that he was listening. This invalidates the claim that he thought she asked something else and shows us that this was his actual answer to her question.
Scariest. It didn't happen. It could have been scary.
This is him reaffirming a second time that this is indeed the answer to her question. His journey to the moon didn't happen.
Circuit breaker. Oh.
Someone called to him from the audience saying, "Circuit breaker in the pen? Hey Buzz, you're breaking from the script. This is supposed to be your answer." His host then restates what the unknown person in the audience said. "The circuit breaker in the pen? either asking, what are they talking about? Or encouraging him to stay on script.
Oh, I'm glad somebody helps me. We came back inside after kicking up dust and picking up some rocks. And of course, we had to.
And then he goes on and tells this story about popping this important circuit breaker back in with his pen. You can go on and watch that on your own if you want. As I mentioned, I've got a link to his full Q&A session in this video's description. But his response, that his journey to the moon didn't happen, is one that is worth remembering.
It didn't happen. It could have been scary.
Yep, just like what he said to that little 8-year-old girl when she asked him, why has nobody been back to the moon in such a long time? He says, well, because it didn't happen. I mean, those exact same 3 words. That's crazy. So people out there in the audience, I don't know if I'm going crazy or what, but it is so weird that I remember this video, but I remember a different clip out of it. I guess what I'm ultimately have to do is watch the whole thing. But do you guys remember this coming out and we were highlighting some other part of it? Because
I remember see the video a few years ago, 1 year ago, something like that, because in this Oxford type of talk, I also not discovered, but it was really amazing. The talk that James Blunt, the musician, gives, talking about that his ancestors participate in the royalty, England, Navy, and things like that. But I never paid attention to this part of the lecture. It's really amazing.
Okay,
I guess the official excuse is going to be right. So Glober Witsit here. Here's the baller Witsit. So what he's saying is that it went so smoothly that the scariest thing just never happened. Like, what was the scariest thing that happened? Oh, well, it never happened. The scariest part of your journey, it never happened. As in, now obviously I don't buy this. I'm just saying, like that the idea being that he's just saying, the scariest thing never happened. It went like perfect.
They can
Well, then
say
you would pick something that would have been the scariest, right? Yeah, like I would have said, okay, well, stepping onto the moon's surface as soon as my foot hit, that was the scariest part. Or you would have picked something, you wouldn't have said, oh, it didn't happen.
Oh, no. An honest person obviously knows that it's like he's a senile drunk that probably hates that he has to lie, and he keeps on slipping the truth in there boldly. And then the handler clearly tells him what he's supposed to say. And he looks scared, and then he starts to tell a story and looks at the handler while he's telling the story. But I'm just saying, baller Austin, right?
While wearing 2 watches and a skulls bracelet, and I mean everything he's wearing is a joke. The guy's drunk off his ass, and yeah, I did a video on this because we made fun of he says the word circuit breaker throughout this whole thing like 15 times, and like each time says a different like circuit breaker. It's just it's a funny. I saw Karen saying in the chat. She probably remembers my video where
Trigger word.
I remember it.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, did you notice that when he's like, if you maybe even bring it back, but when he's like, the girl corrects him or whatever from the chat, from the audience, he starts to say the circuit breaker thing, and he stares at the person while he's doing like, am I doing all right? Basically,
it's that handler girl that goes around with him. Yeah,
he stares at the handler while he starts to correct himself. Like noticeably, he's staring in the audience at the person that corrected him. Like am I doing okay? Type of thing. I wish I could make out what he mumbles. I can't make it out though.
Yeah, and also I think it's something related with the sponsor thing, because he must be talk about the Space Pen Odyssey when he used a Parker pen to switch a button, and blah 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 blah, and it's all over internet. Every time that somebody asks this type of question to Buzz Aldrin, he references the same story, talking about the Parker pen who saved the moon landing mission itself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, watch. So right here, now he gets corrected right here.
Yep.
She repeats it. Right. Then the girl repeats it to her. Now watch when he goes on to talk about it. Watch where he looks.
Could have been scary. Circuit breaker.
wow. Just wow.
Right,
Let's
right
go back and
here
watch that
for-
again.
Okay. Yeah, but when he's like, oh, okay, that's what I'm supposed to say. He looks back at the handler while he's saying it. Like, is this what I'm supposed to be saying? It's so noticeable to me that he's
Yeah.
watching the handler. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he says, "Wow, I'm really glad I have people looking out for me, right? Telling me what to say."
He's like Joe Biden senile, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
However,
amazing.
his kids actually sued him, trying to like take his money, saying he's not mentally responsible enough to be able to manage his own finances anymore. And so he got really mad about that, and he went and took this test to say, "Hey guys, I am totally mentally capable." And so he passed this test with flying colors, and he waved it around and told everyone about it. And so, yeah, that kind of totally invalidates the claim when he can pass his mental exam that he's totally senile about that. He was saying this stuff as a totally competent person.
I agree with that. He's just not in control of like maintaining the script anymore. Like he is just, I don't know, maybe spiritually worn out.
I think there's a part of him that really wants to let it out. You know, I mean, the elite don't know what to do with him because he's so old and he is senile, right? And, you know, basically drunk and everything. But my God, can you imagine living with a lie like that on your shoulders for your entire life?
I just have to say it's part of the preponderance of evidence, because this isn't the only time he's done it. He's done it time after time. Like I really like the time he did it on Conan, where Conan's like, "Oh yeah, I saw you on TV when you did the moon landing thing." He's like, "You didn't see me."
No, you didn't.
That was an
Yeah.
animation.
That was
an animation. And so, yeah, I did a different video with like containing a bunch of other times that he's done stuff like this. Such as the time he told the little girl, "Oh, well, we didn't go." And that,
And that's how it happened. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
and so
I know all the
it's just part
baller
of the
apologist answers,
it's
unfortunately.
a big snowball effect. And so,
Yeah.
if it one time, you might brush off one time, but 5 times?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm obviously in complete agreement with you, but it's like there's the claim about the Conan thing. I think the best way to win is just say everything, right? The Conan thing, what they say is he's just saying that specifically when it was landing, no one was there to tape it, so they animated that. Then they cut to something real. I haven't heard a really good one about the little girl. Just that he's talking about not going back. I don't know, but
Why?
Yeah.
It's because
it's because we didn't go, and that's how it happened.
Yeah, I agree with Stolium7 in the chat. He says, "I think Buzz couldn't lie to the little girl," and I believe that. I mean, he looked at her and she's so innocent, and the way that she asked that question, it was like, I don't think he could do it, you know. And so he just kind of let it squeak out there. And plus, he's already, wanting to absolve himself and put it out there. I don't know. It must be horrible to live that kind of fate, you know.
And just
Yeah, I
to
think
come
in
at
the
it
moment,
from
he's
the
just like, what's gonna
actual,
Sorry.
like a even more conspiratorial point of view, MK Ultra, the classified documents, MK Ultra was going on during the moon landings. What if, for the longest time, he actually did believe he went to the moon? I mean, that would be horrible.
Yeah, and it says that
Dude.
supposedly it takes about 30 years.
For it to
20
wear
to
off.
30 years to wear off. Like where it'll really, where you'll start to have like your memory suppression will start to come back. I don't know, but like a lot of people say that. And so that would be interesting, where it's like, say 30 years afterwards, he's just like, "Oh my God, did we actually do this?" I don't know. I'm like, say you MK Ultra and throw them on the set that kind of looks like the moon. They may not know what's going on, or they're in on it. I mean, they put out a Masonic flag, right?
Oh yeah, they could do all kinds of stuff to you when you're under strong hallucinogenic type drugs and stuff. That's what MK Ultra was all about. So, I mean, I feel bad for him either way. It's got to be a horrible life to live.
They proudly show that they brought the Mason flag, right? Like they take a picture of their 33rd degree Supreme Council flag. And so like in that they brought that his little handkerchief flag thing that he brought with him, like they boldly show that they brought like Masonic stuff with them allegedly. And they're all Masons. And there's this little book that Mr. Anderson has that has all the astronauts in it. And you have to be 33rd maybe to write the book, or you have to be 32nd to be in the book. And it's all the astronauts. And So I don't know. I'm like on the fence. I think it may just be like Masons agreed to lie, or yeah, they could. I think they'd make MK Ultra astronauts now. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't think we'll ever will know. But it's interesting for sure because the fact that they're so proudly and brazenly showing off the Masonic symbolism makes me think that they do know personally.
Yeah, even if he was like senile, here, my great grandpa, I lived with him for a little while, and he was having some major Alzheimer's and had a hard time remembering things. And he was a butcher throughout life. But even in his toughest times of being mentally unstable, he would never deny and say, "Oh, I was never a butcher." He'd never do that. So that's kind of yeah.
Yeah. Well, imagine like what Zach's saying. If you think about it from that perspective, where like he didn't really know, like somehow they tricked them, they drugged them, because they were using like really crazy methods back then. And so say he just, when he asks these questions, he thinks about it and he's like, I've kind of wondered the same thing myself. Why was it so smooth? Like doesn't seem legit that we just first time it went so smooth. Like maybe we didn't actually go, like just for years he's been going crazy in his mind. And that's the senile part, is where because you would go crazy, right? We're like, did I go? Did I not go? I don't know what happened. I'm so confused. And like when the little girl asked him, he's like, you know what? That's my question. I think I do know. He's being serious. That's one angle, right? Like he literally has been asking himself this for years. Like, did we actually go? Like, what happened?
Sorry, guys. I paste in this chat. I paste that video if you want to play it. It's the first. At the 25 seconds is the Buzz Aldrin with the girl.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Let's see. In the Globusters. Oh, in our chat. I'm sorry. Bad Bob.
Yeah, in the StreamYard chat.
Okay, is it at the right time stamp?
Yes, around 23 seconds start.
Oh, it says 460 seconds start. No fumos da luna dice el astronauta Buzz Aldrin?
Yes, we didn't go to the moon.
All right. And paste and go.
Something positive about them that can change me for the better. I should always.
Yeah, that's where it started here. Is that where you wanted it started? Or go back to 26 seconds?
I think, what is? I was talking to somebody. No, I was listening to a conversation.
Yeah.
On a YouTube thing, and somebody was talking about how
it starts around 25 seconds. You need to go back to 23 seconds and put it play.
Okay, here we go. Let's try this.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened.
Está claro que la elección de palabras de Aldrin es bastante.
You know what? That did not. Oh yeah, it did. Okay, that went out in broadcast. Was that all of it, Ariel?
Dude.
Yeah, it was that short part.
Dude, there's no way someone can. I've never understood why you can try to explain that away. He's saying because it didn't happen. And
yeah,
like,
it's straight answer.
He
right?
says it pretty directly, doesn't he?
Yeah, because we didn't go there, and that's how it happened. What do you think he said? So she says, "Why haven't we been back to the moon?" He's like, because we haven't been back." That doesn't make sense. That's like the official narrative is that he's talking. So why haven't we been back to the moon? Because we haven't gone back there. That doesn't answer the question.
Yeah, people don't talk
we never
that way.
went.
Yeah, because we never went. Exactly.
Unreal.
Because that's their official narrative, is that he's actually talking about the like a second time. You see what I'm saying? And so they're like, "Oh, that doesn't make sense, though." That's the best apologist argument I've ever heard.
People don't talk that way.
It makes no sense. Yeah, like if someone asks you, "Why didn't we go back to the moon?" You're like, "Because we didn't go back." You'd be like, "Oh, okay. How profound."
It makes sense now. I get it now.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. Well, anyway, so I just thought that was interesting because I didn't catch that part of it, the first time apparently. And what's weird is I do remember your video on it, Jaron, and how drunk he clearly was, and I remember at the end of it, they really couldn't get him off the stage because he went off on this complete,
Oh, that was when I showed him at the event with a bunch of children where he's telling them that he went down and shot some Japs or something. He says that to the kids in this arena. They're like, holy smart. They keep trying to get him. Oh, you haven't seen that? I got to show you that video. He's like, when we shot down those Koreans, and he's like talking to second graders. Get just out of it.
Yeah, that's a great video. Okay, well,
I'll just see that one.
You're digging that up. I want to play another video really quick here because this one actually was on the ITRH's channel, but I had never seen this before, and I thought it was really amazing. It's basically what a dome sounds like, right? They did is they popped a balloon inside of a dome, and they also do some work with some soundproof chambers and stuff like that. But when I heard this, it's like, oh my God, that sounds exactly like a thunderstorm cracking. Absolutely amazing. And the reason I wanted to play it is because it will be applicable to some of the stuff that we are going to cover today on Professor Dave's video. But this is just a few minutes, so let's play that while Jaron looks for his. And here we go.
Yeah, that sounded like lightning.
That sounded just like lightning, and with the reverberations on it, absolute, dead ringer. I like the fact that he called it Thunderdome too, because truly, if we are under a dome, and I believe we are, I've said that a million times, this is just another piece of that preponderance of evidence. Rainbows, the reverberation, on and on and on. We'll get to the other proofs later, but this is amazing. It's amazing. It sounds just like a rainstorm video. Cammie and I listen to this video at night when we go to sleep. It's like thunderstorm and rainstorms, and it's really quite soothing to listen to when you go to sleep. But here we have three guys basically just applauding, and again, it sounds like a thunderstorm, which is amazing. The way things reverberate in a dome. Three guys, all that sound, astounding.
This is one of the quietest rooms in the world. Known as an anechoic chamber, it's perfectly designed to remove sound reflections and echo.
Quite a difference.
Chamber, as well as one of the loudest rooms in the world, the reverberation chamber. I wanted to do a couple tests to compare this room to the reverberation room. For fun, here's the direct comparison.
It's like a gunshot.
That's amazing.
It sounds like it's echoing for real.
Sounds like what, Austin?
It sounds like it's echoing for real.
It really does. And I think that explains a lot of the sounds that we hear, with the reverberation. And
we can walk in here. And now I have the mighty voice of God.
So yeah, that's pretty amazing. And then I'm sure you guys have all heard those videos that they were playing. I don't know, it was about 4 or 5 years back, where all over the world they were picking up these really weird ass sounds coming out of the sky that almost sounded like huge steel doors rubbing against steel doors or whatever. I'm still not sure what to think about that, but it's almost like there's some sort of construction or something going on up there, and the reverberation through the dome itself is just crazy, right? So I don't know. I'm looking for an answer to that still. Austin, I know you're aware of it because you've talked about it before, but I really have no idea what the hell is going on with those noises. Do you? Are you there?
Wait, specifically what? Sorry.
I was talking about the noises, that were coming down out of the sky.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. I found that when I was looking at that weather modification thing. I don't know. It's insane, dude. It's very crazy. It just sounds like crazy eerie sounds from the sky that you're talking about. Like it's just like I don't even know how to describe the sound. Is that what you're talking about? Like this eerie
Yep.
sound?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it's like thunder. They call them thunder. No, they call them
The trumpets?
skyquakes.
well, it almost sounds like metal rubbing against metal. It's really a bizarre sound, like there's some sort of construction going on, but I don't know. Somebody said skyquakes.
Yeah, skyquakes. And it's
Yeah.
crazy, dude. It's so weird. It's like because I think I was covering my weather modification. I think when they say they're doing all this stuff with the ionosphere, it's just the dome, right? I think that they're just like messing with the dome. I think we may be getting GPS use cases off the dome and all kinds of stuff. And I think that that's what we're hearing is some type of interaction with physical containment.
Yeah, but remember that if you go up 30, 40 kilometers, you don't have any more sound. And you can test that with the sounding rocket. So that will be very interested if somebody can, detect.
That's actually a good point here. That's a
The
good
sound would
point.
still come. Okay, so sound is actually nothing more than the perturbation of the air, right? Well, like once you get more air, you'll still get the sound. So say you have the dome 66 or 100 kilometers, right? Yeah, if you were above 40, you might not hear it. But if you were below it, you'd hear it, even though it happened way up there, right?
Yeah, but still, you are still in the big column of air that we are here on the ground. So that's you need to. I don't know. So I am not saying that there is not. For me, there is no physical dome. For me, it's another type of gases and temperature combination. But beside that, I mean, if you want to really test this hypothesis, you need to go up and trying to listen a thunderstorm up 30, 40 kilometers. That will be something nice to test at least. But
That's interesting. You don't think it would be able to still translate down? I mean, have you ever considered like a super solid? So we have like super fluids and a super solid.
Could be. That's it's really intriguing for me. The most theory, if you want to call idea, that for me it's happening up there is because in science there is two things that turns the scientists crazy. One is the vacuum. Nobody understand really vacuum because that is something that doesn't exist. In fact, I have a video from a scientist from CERN talking about that if you empty all things and you take out all the furniture of the room and you take out the light and blah blah blah, something still remain there, and that still remain thing you can make it vibrate. So they are hiding the word ether behind the Higgs boson and things like that. But the other thing is the vacuum is one of the things, and the other thing is not lower temperature, zero temperature. When you start freezing things at that temperatures, things become crazy. In fact, there is a theory called the Einstein-Bose condensation, and that is something with quantum explanation. But everything that you cool down start behave super weirdly. Also, in fact, the magnetic fields. So if you have if you have almost zero absolute temperature up there, you're gonna have friction free, so you can move things in magnetic field forever, and you can start explain what happened with planets or things that maybe are not hanging but levitating up and moving forever because nobody see ever once change the velocity, the speed, and the behavior of those celestial bodies.
I agree. And a superfluid would give like no friction. It would just
No
effortlessly
friction.
flow through it. Right. And that's what's so fascinating about superfluid or super solids. I have only recently heard about this. They're trying to replicate them, but it's like basically combining a solid with a superfluid is the idea. And you have like the analogy is an ice cube in water and the water flowing freely with no friction through the ice cube. It seems somewhat crazy to even wrap your mind around or almost impossible, but I think it might be a combination of these things, like a super solid, semi-permeable firmament with super fluid. And then, like you said, if you had like electromagnetic energy, you would just infinitely flow, perpetually flow with no friction. And that's why we have
Exactly.
these perfect cycles.
And supposedly with the microwave background radiation, they detect 2 Kelvin, almost 0 degrees, out there. But the only thing that I can take from all those investigations and reports and data is that, yeah, up there, the temperatures go almost 0 Kelvin, or maybe there is 0 Kelvin, but we don't have the technology to reach that highest point to detect that. But everything is really cold up there.
Yeah, D. Murphy says if a local lightning bolt will echo locally, a sound from underground will echo locally too. And that makes sense. It could be coming from underground, some of those sounds, even though, we perceive them as coming from the sky. And a few people have been talking about the SF6, what it might do to that sound of reverberation coming down. Robert Bassano said, what did he say?
I think about earthquakes and how earthquakes sound like thunder.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
and what if the dome touches? What if there's actually a dome? I know some people don't like that. That touches down, and somehow it has an interaction. What if there's something we don't understand about the ETH that connects the ground and the actual firmament, and those two solid states, will say, have an interaction? I don't know. It's the beautiful and frustrating thing of flat Earth is it's just so wide open that, well, like I think that if the container touches the Earth, there may be an interaction there. Like I was looking so much into HARP. I mean, HARP is crazy, but that's just their mainstream thing. I mean, DARPA used it, but they have something way stronger than HARP, obviously classified, right? And so they can shoot these beams up, and it basically creates this like dielectric pulse from top to bottom, and they can also shoot it into the ground. So I don't know. What if they're able to create some type of connection between the two, where it's not either or? Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, I get what you're saying totally. I don't know.
Hey, everyone.
Oops, sorry about that. There's so many possibilities, and that's the good thing about it. But by building a preponderance of evidence for these type of things, we can speculate a little bit easier. Whereas the globe has to, state these things as facts. What causes this? What causes this? What causes this? And I think when you build a preponderance of evidence, it's a much better way to, kind of make your case for something. Because there is a lot of, I wouldn't call it circumstantial evidence necessarily, but there's just a lot of different evidence points, observations, and stuff like that that prove things that we say in the flat Earth model. And when they say things like that in the heliocentric model, it's absolutely straight up dogma, right? So yeah, it's just complete nonsense.
It's a cult, yeah.
Yep. So okay, so I guess we can go ahead and start on this. I
can
hate
show that,
listening to
Buzz,
this.
if you want me to show you. I brought up that.
Oh, do you have it?
already want to play tag with traffic. This dude.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and bring it up. That way we can put off Dave a little bit longer.
As long as possible, please.
Seriously. As a matter of fact, I think I'm gonna have a whole presentation I forgot to tell you about.
Okay.
Let's see. I think it's this one. I just don't know if I have to hit share with sound or not. I don't see it on here now.
Hey, it's best
it has
to do
to be
the share
a
with.
Chrome tab or the whole window.
I would do
only.
the Chrome tab because otherwise you get weird echoes.
Can you hear that or no?
Let me add it to the stream.
You don't hear me now?
No, I don't hear anything.
Okay, let me try and.
Yeah, there should be like a little block down in the bottom left of the Chrome tab section that says share
I
audio.
didn't see it. Let me try it again.
I know the middle one doesn't have it
Oh,
for
that's
whatever
what-
reason, and that's super annoying.
The window one doesn't work then.
Yeah, how weird is that? That's stupid.
There. Okay, Chrome tab. All right, there we go. And this one's up. Just did it again without pressing it. Hold on. Do it one more time. All right,
StreamYard has the ability to just blow everyone out of the water and they're just dropping the ball. Never
I
losing.
agree. They're like so close. Okay. Here we go. And
not seeing the share.
Okay,
there it is.
And you hear it? Yes.
Now I hear it.
Neil going first. He always had a little
Thought I was on the spot.
jealousy in him. Video. Funny thing is, the other NASA guy realizes he's a little deep, and he tries to say, "Let's hear it for Buzz," but there's no way Buzz is stopping. You know that. So he continues on in his drunken tirade. Oh, what a hero! Let's enjoy.
West Point, MIT, and then after being a fighter pilot, shooting down 2 airplanes in Korea, just getting a little bit of combat, I got into this here space program. And I was given a chance to go to that round thing up in the sky. And now,
Yes, he said that. He got a chance to go to the round thing up in the sky. That's what he's telling us.
He's noticeably hammered.
luck
Got
has
that
sent
swerve speech going on.
to figure out a plan so that you people will be the first to take a chance to be the first colony on Mars.
Dude, he is so lit.
So lit. Hey guys, says, let's hear it for Buzz. Watch him try and get him off the stage.
Awesome to have Buzz Aldrin with us. That was a little bit of my life. But when I grew up, I
Just look at the way
didn't
he's
see a
walking
bunch of
around there.
teamwork and stimulated people. But we got somewhere anyway. But the background that you have,
It's the grandpa.
these teams competing and everybody gung-ho and having a great time.
A really wide stride.
And I believe that if you're not on that first
Let's
colony,
just go try and get
you're
him off
going
again.
to be working pretty hard. Do I have any job takers? We got a lot of jobs. How about all of you?
All right, Buzz Aldrin,
Doing a
everyone.
good job. Okay, everyone, let's hear it for Buzz Aldrin. Thank you.
He ain't done.
So as you can tell, Buzz Aldrin has had one too many, and he wants to know if there's any job takers. Any job takers out there?
Job takers.
So, you didn't think he was done, did you? Oh, no, my friends. He's just getting started.
Not even close.
I am here to represent a support, a partnership from my Share Space Foundation. Years ago, it was going to be for a lottery. Well, that didn't work out. Somebody had a better idea. And then I thought I'd work on the education system.
Yeah.
But somebody very smart told me that we got lots of curricula. It's just that the school system is screwed up. And since I don't really how to fix it, I do know that working with elementary schools, we can take the spirit that you had.
I gotta remind you just to say, hey, you gotta watch this girl try and get him off the stage.
Curricula.
Watch this girl here.
I'm just waiting for him to fall off.
This girl in the black.
School system is
She'll keep running back and forth, and she tries to run over and get him off the
screwed
stage.
up. And since I don't really how to fix it, I do know that
Oh, this girl, here she is,
working
watch
with
her.
elementary schools,
Buzz, get down.
we can take the spirit that you had when you started out and make sure that you keep it.
So if you were listening carefully there, he was there representing his Space Chair Space Foundation. Then he says that the school system is screwed up. Next, I want you to listen for the other guy from NASA comes forward and basically tries to stop him and says, let's hear it one more time but Buzz isn't done. In fact, he goes on to try and spell something. See if you can see what he's spelling, because to me it sounds like S-S-T-U-N.
All right, guys, and one more time is, let's hear it with the boss. S-S-T-U-N.
It's like we need to do something about this.
Not a hero.
STENN.
Yeah, I think that it's steam. I kind of realized after, but I don't think he spells it right. So STEAM. He said SSTEN. You guys too funny. Anyway, yeah, they probably should keep him away from the bottle.
I think he's like I love him. I think we should put him all over the TV.
I think you must be receive an accident. If I was the CIA, the deep state, he received an accident because this guy is
liability.
He's completely insane, man.
So basically, you're saying call the Jesuit hit.
Well, like at the beginning of the intro of Globebuster when Family Guy.
Yeah, well, he may not be so good at walking downstairs. Is all we're saying.
Yeah, for example. Yeah.
Yet people say all the time that, oh, well, NASA's such a big organization. How do you have something like that for so long and yet you get no leakers? And I was like, well, Buzz right there is our number one leaker. And,
I was talking to Jared and I was like, you know how they do it? They're just incompetent. I was looking at HARP in this documentary done a long time ago, and the girl that's running the facility, she's so incompetent. It's like, of course, no one like comes and blows the whistle. They're not smart enough to even put together what's going on. I literally think that.
Go look at the DART mission, right? And look at the people in the control room, and you kind of realize, like, oh, these guys are the guys in charge. I mean, they're like the hall monitors in school. Right?
Yeah,
just a little off. Sorry to those hall monitors that are out there. Yeah, Buzz is he's definitely losing it.
Everything is what I love inside the main room of those missions is everything is automatic.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and they even admit that you can't tell the difference in simulation and the actual missions. And then there's an astronaut saying that when they trained, they couldn't tell the difference when they really went. Do you think that this Professor Clown show would defend Buzz, though?
Yes, of course. What do you mean?
Exactly. How funny is that?
Yeah, he likes to say that we have we have the same beliefs, right? He says, oh, all conspiracy theorists think the same, which is patently false. And then he says all conspiracy theorists believe in Q, patently false. Every one of us, at least here, was against Q from day one. So, and then somebody called into a show and was like, I don't think they all believe the same thing. And he said, no, they absolutely do. They literally do. It's like, that's just a blatant lie. And it's projection. Because
he just says hand wave dismissals. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, sir. No, sir.
Yeah.
That's his MO.
Well, and the sad thing is that the ones who have the same beliefs is that globe cult, the globe preachers.
Exactly.
They have the same beliefs. They're the ones who don't have their own beliefs, they can't look at something and decide for themselves, oh, do I believe this? Do I not believe it? It's dictated to them. This is something we believe. This is why he did a whole video on gender. We don't have to watch that video to know his position on it.
Right. Like if you want to know what everyone on Globebusters thinks about the ether or the dome, you got to come ask each person on Globebusters.
Right.
Right. If you want to know what Dave, Professor Clown Show here thinks, you literally just have to Google it.
That's
literally
exactly right.
Yep.
That's it.
You know, on your show yesterday, I think Professor Bell was, Phil Bell was on your show, Austin, and he was saying something. I asked him why he was there, and he's like, well, isn't this free speech? Don't I have the right to say what I think? And I go, if we wanted to know what you thought, we just Google it. Right?
Yeah, exactly, bro. And it's so true. It has to sting them. They have to be like, damn, he's right. You know, because that's what they do. Nowadays, when I have debates on modern day debate, they don't even hide it anymore. They literally just Google it live and read it as if they're destroying me. So it's
Yeah,
like, wow.
they have to follow the main, no matter what it is, whether it's on 9/11 or Sandy Hook or anything, whatever the mainstream, line is, they must follow it. And that's one of the biggest ways you can tell a J-trig operative type of thing. There's other little telltale signs, but these people are paid trolls that do this, and it is so obvious by observing their actions what they do, and it's really easy to identify them.
Bob, what's come up recently that I hadn't heard before much? I've heard people say, oh, flat earth is a psyop, but now they're saying flat earth is a psyop, and people like Dave Farina are so bad that he's put there on purpose to prop flat earth up.
Yeah.
That's how bad he's doing, that people now think that he's a plant because he can't possibly be that bad. That's insane. I just want to mention real quick. Does everybody know that Buzz Aldrin's mom's maiden name?
That's Neil Armstrong, I thought. Yeah, but
No.
Moon.
No,
right?
Buzz's mom is
Oh,
Moon.
is it really?
And she committed suicide before
68.
before he went. Yep. And
Yep.
because she didn't want the publicity, so he obviously didn't care much about that. He just went anyway. And then he had the doctor lie on the death certificate, and he admits it in his book. I'm not saying anything that you can't go read in his book, that he had the doctor lie on the birth certificate to say that it was a heart attack because they didn't want people to think he was going, even though his mom just committed suicide over that issue. And his dad worked at Rockefeller Plaza the whole time for he was a bigwig at Standard Oil. So
Wow. I didn't know that. For some reason I was thinking Neil Armstrong. So Buzz Aldrin's mom's maiden name was Moon. She committed suicide 1968. Then he had the actual death certificate faked so that people wouldn't know that she committed suicide because she didn't want to be a part of it for whatever reason. I guess that's
For whatever
speculation, right? Maybe she knew that he was lying or something.
maybe, that would be my thought, but I mean,
I wouldn't want to be associated with it.
he describes it in his book that she didn't want the publicity.
I think she was a sacrifice in their name, that she was picked because of the name, and then they killed her as a ritual.
I'm not going to put any.
Yeah, or maybe he received an accident. She received an accident.
Yeah, because of her name, she was a ritual sacrifice.
That's a good point. I've
allegedly.
never actually looked into beyond what he wrote in his book, because I've never actually looked into could it have been something.
Oh, she suicide.
Yeah,
Come on.
yeah. She forgot how to walk
The
downstairs.
gunshot to the back of her head.
Yeah, two in the back. Yep.
Although if Buzz was going through all this kind of MK Ultra stuff, and you were to see your son getting tortured and all this stuff like that, that'd be a kind of a threat to being a major leaker. We don't want her to spill the beans, protect my son, kind of a thing, and so we've got to take care of her.
You guys think it's a coincidence that her maiden name is Moon and she died a year before?
No.
It's a ritual, bro. Allegedly.
And remember from the Brad Tyrrell documentary of those interviews, the Michael, how was the name of the Apollo 16? The guy who talked with his son and his son, Edgar Mitchell, saying, hey, Dad, you want to call the CIA and wax?
Have them waxed, yeah.
Have them waxed, yeah.
So that is a well-known practice, between the space agencies,
Yeah, so the theory is that you agree that to be famous, to really get your shot, like your break, where you become really famous, you have to sacrifice someone in your family that's really close. So you have Kanye West basically saying that, like point blank saying his mom was sacrificed so he could be famous. Then you have the rapper called DaBaby. When his album went #1, same day his dad died. Then you have the rapper MGK, who just became insanely famous and like #1 albums back to back, is like insanely famous now. He's making music for like 10 years. His dad dies like the same time that he becomes famous. So it's almost like, okay, well, we'll prop you up to the very top. Like Buzz Aldrin, you'll be like the guy that went to the moon. But you have to agree. I think they make them have to agree to do it. So it's not like on them. It's on the person that did it. Now, this is just
What
theoretical.
about the backstory of Michael Collins and the other ones? Did they
I don't know
have
about them.
anything like that? But at the same time, we don't see them out in the open public, do we?
And I know they got they each got a really nice like convertible Mustang. I remember that each.
Imagine selling your soul for a Mustang.
Yeah, it's amazing what people will do for ultimately nothing,
Dude, Dude, how could you live with yourself if you killed your mom or dad so you could be famous? I mean, that's speculation, obviously, because you would never know if that was true, but that's insane to think about. And the amount of people that's happened to, the amount of famous people
And
who's
not
like,
just parents either, children as well, firstborns.
yep,
If you go and
children,
look at all the
first
firstborns
cousins.
that have been lost in like Hollywood, these famous rich actors and actresses, you go and look at their histories. Horrible stuff happens to their children at very young ages.
And
It
imagine
won't
it,
be
dude.
right away. Sometimes it'll be, they'll be 7, 8, 9 years old, but it happens. It's crazy.
That's
The
crazy because
odds.
think about it. You have that person in the bag forever because they gave their consent and agreed. They don't have to literally go do it. They just have to agree. And they know it's going to happen. And so for one, that person's going to be going crazy for the rest of their life, living and drowning in guilt. But secondly, they could never buck the system, right? They can never fully buck the system. We have proof that you agreed to have your mother murdered, right? So like you're in their bag forever. They don't even have to go as far as like the pedophilia route. Like if you agreed to some type of ritual sacrifice, you're done. Like you do what we say. You wear pink and earrings and you wear tight little pants and you go around singing with bleach blonde hair and call yourself Machine Gun Kelly. Like you do what we say, right? And I don't know. It's really crazy. And now, like for example, with the MGK dude, and I'll stop ranting. Like he's dating Megan Fox or whatever now, and she openly came out recently saying, yeah, they drink each other's blood. And she's like, but people make it weird. It's just a little bit, and it's strictly for ritual purposes.
Just
As
a
if that
little
makes
bit.
it cool. As if that
I
makes
thought it was weird that the churches drink wine in symbolism of blood.
It's not
like,
symbolism. Don't say that. It's not symbolism. They
Yeah, Catholic
absolutely-
Church says it's literal.
The Catholic
Once-
Church says it's literally blood.
and flesh once the priest does it.
Correct.
Once the priest blesses it.
My
Yeah,
mom
it's
would get
crazy.
really mad at me if I ever said it was symbolic. It's not symbolic.
Like this is grape juice, Mom. How dare you? Blasphemy.
That is the blood of the Savior.
That's
crazy.
crazy. Yeah.
It is, but people buy into it. Well, whatever. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and delve into not a Professor Dave here. And like I said, this video made this guy his response to us, and even in this response, he strawmans virtually everything that we say, and it's just utterly pathetic. So, without further ado, let's roll that beautiful bean footage. Here we go.
Hey everyone, this is going to be a pretty different video from what I normally post. If you're from the flat earth realm, you know what this is about. If you're one of my regular viewers, I'll fill you in as quickly as possible. Last week, I posted a video about how we know the earth isn't flat. This was really just to reinforce and contextualize some lessons from earlier in my astronomy playlist. I figured I'd get a few trolls, nothing major, but instead the entirety of the flat earth community descended upon it with a vengeance. The YouTube channel Globe Busters informed me that they were going to be deconstructing my video in their weekly live stream, and they invited me to check it out. I didn't really know what to expect. I thought there'd be some degree of dialogue or exchange. There definitely wasn't. Everything they were saying I was discrediting in real time, and they were acknowledging none of it. On top of that, they were extremely rude to me, so I had to respond simply as a point of honor, and that's this. So let's begin. I'll start with the only valid criticism you had of me, and that is that I misrepresented your model and didn't research it enough. You're right. I didn't look up almost anything you believe.
Common
But now that
ground!
you've told me so many of the things that you do believe, even better. Let's go through how all of them are wrong.
Let's go through how all of them are wrong. Unbelievable. All right, Dave, let's hear how they're all wrong.
Since I botched your model so horribly, let's go straight to yours. This is the one you showed me to explain the seasons. It attempts to account for the temperature differential throughout the year, but I'm sorry, it's not compatible with observation. Here's why. These are the two tropics. I don't know what you think these circumferences are, but it's safe to say that this one is smaller than this one. If that's the case, one of two things must be true. Option 1, this object maneuvers the inner path in a shorter amount of time than it maneuvers the outer path, which would make summer shorter than winter. It's not. Option 2, it moves much slower up here and much faster down here so that all of the circles take the same amount of time. That would mean the sun moves through the sky at different speeds throughout the year. It doesn't. So sorry, this model doesn't work. Now let's go to the one you showed me for
Okay.
Pause.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, Yeru.
No,
That's
I
an
want to
easy
say
one.
that, well, that in the heliocentric model, they address that saying that the Earth is speeding up and slowing down based on the second law of Kepler. because the orbit is elliptic, it's not a circular orbit, so you must have this acceleration and deceleration. And in our model, you can explain that with the analemma.
Absolutely, that's
Yep.
correct.
And then what do you guys think about the analemma with the vortex? And so, like, basically, as you get higher up in the vortex, it's slower, and you get so when it's actually outside, or I mean, when it's in the center, it's up higher in the vortex a little bit, so it goes slower. And then I don't know, it's just
Yeah, the high and the down, for me, you must be take into consideration also the perspective. It's like Polaris. We don't know exactly how much up or high actually the suns move. It is some solid object, of course, but in the appearance, you can say that there is at least the only thing that I take into account is the circumference. Exactly, you need to go more fast and slow between the tropics, and more, more high or down, of course, too. But I cannot say exactly. Remember that in the heliocentric model, they also need to address the the motion, the Earth motion. They need to detect something like that, because they always say that you cannot detect the speed because it's a constant speed. But based on the elliptic orbit, you have acceleration and deceleration. Doesn't matter if it's super gradual. You need something to detect, man. If not, it's just fairy tales.
Yeah, I guess what I'm
Yeah,
saying
and
is the vortex gives you a mechanism, right? So like the vortex would
Yeah.
give you a mechanism for why it goes slower or faster. Like the higher in the
Oh,
tornado,
yeah,
the
yeah,
wider,
yeah,
so slower. So yeah, like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
we know
yeah.
we have a vortex seemingly. So yeah, it's just like
well,
a
we
speculative
can,
mechanism.
let's just go straight mechanics here. You can recreate this on a flat plane with you take a bike tire overhead, you have a flashlight in between the spokes, you point it towards the outer edge. You keep it moving the same speed around in a circle. Then you take it and you point it towards the inner circle, the center, and you keep it spinning at the same speed. And it would work just like it does here on the flat plane. We're not claiming to know what the sun is. We're not saying that it's, this ball of fire in our sky, in the atmosphere with us that's light. We're not making claims about the sky. We're just saying what we see. And we
Yeah, and
can recreate it over a
exact.
flat plane.
Yeah, and beside that, these guys took the worst or the initial model that maybe Rob Skiba did, and they just picked that as absolute truth of the flat Earth model. They don't consider that everything is evolving. We're trying to give more answers and trying to make the model more perfect and things like that. Because if he was honest, he must be addressed the analemma and trying to explain also why the Grace Tyson said that the Earth is a little chubby in the south. That is because it's much wider than the north, and that matched perfectly with the observation of the analemma and the sun being rotating above us in the toroidal field, for example.
Yep, exactly. And of course, one of the biggest things that Professor Dave didn't include is because of the fact he knows nothing about anything about the flat Earth. In our particular model, because we are, at least I am, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think most people believe that we do obviously have some sort of a covering or a firmament over the top of us that gives us our air pressure. And when you have something like that, then obviously the lighter gases, like the noble gases, are going to go up towards the higher atmospheres. When that happens, then you take a look at the flat Earth sun model, which is way, way closer than 93 million miles, and you understand that the electromagnetic charge that's coming off of the sun is actually fluorescing these noble gases. That's what this is all about right here. This experiment that Dan Dimension did. And if you look at them, they go in perfect order of the colors of the sunrise and sunset for the flat Earth model. So this works absolutely beautifully. And the other thing that the the flat Earth describes better than the ball Earth is we have two sources of light. We have not only the direct sunlight, but we also have the fluorescent gas, which is the secondary source of light. Now, in the Ball Earth model, they explain twilight and stuff like that by graduations of light getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer as it goes back towards the equatorial region, except more on a vertical type of basis. It's a little bit different, but I mean, it's a different model. It's completely different. And again, Dave, you said it right. You know nothing about how this works. And do we have evidence for this dome? Oh, you bet we do. And we're going to get to that. So I just wanted to bring that up too and see what you guys thought about that.
Yeah, I love it. I
He-
absolutely
he-
love that. And I don't think the sun has to be physical,
He's
personally, but I
saying
still would do this.
because I don't understand how it could work, it doesn't work. That's his whole argument. I don't
Yeah.
understand how it could work, therefore it doesn't work. And
Build the incredulity.
Yep.
And even in the globe model, the sun does speed up and slow down. You know, I think it's two times. It'll get faster, slower, faster, slower.
Yeah,
throughout
that
the
is
year.
the second law of Kepler. Yeah.
Yeah.
The fallacy of appeal to personal incredulity is committed when the arguer presumes that whatever is true must be easy to understand or to imagine. And so that's basically saying, I don't understand it personally, so it can't be true.
Right. And he says, and then he says, and if you don't understand it, I don't know what to tell you.
He
Yeah.
doesn't even want to understand it. He's
I mean, we
not
can
asking
see-
questions here. He's not. How does this work? There's nothing like that. It's like
Like,
it
we-
just doesn't work.
We can see why he won't debate me, right? I mean, it's for obvious reasons. Like his script is all he has. In my opinion, he'll never. I don't know. I don't want to speak that. He's gonna debate me. I'm gonna say that.
And I would love to see like a 37-degree observation of the sun set from both like the north and the south, December 21st and June 21st, because I guarantee you that the south sunset is much different as far as the light that it hangs around. In the north, we get a ton of light after the sunset, and I've seen videos where it's like pitch black 7 minutes after a sunset in Australia.
Yeah, all the flat earthers in the south should just be constantly doing observations. That's what we need.
I agree.
Is southern observations bad?
Yep, absolutely.
And one more thing, and that is just for people that understand. The sky and the earth is completely different in terms of physics. You cannot take into account just the sky to say that the earth is flat. If you want to be make a really honest debate or proof, you need to analyze the ground, man. You cannot go up there because that is not scientific. You cannot reach the sun or go outside the system and make the observations.
Exactly.
The Greeks already said the physics of the sky are completely unknown for us.
It doesn't make
And-
sense. In any
yeah,
model you look at it, the sky does not make sense. I'm sorry. The
It has
sun
a-
almost
yeah.
drove me mad. I had to quit. I was like, okay, I know less about you than when I started. Studying you every day. I'm done. I'd be okay, you win. I just
And-
appreciate it now.
Magnetic holography.
Yeah, and remember that a lot of theories about the mechanics of the sky was presented in times where nobody understand electricity and magnetism. So they're trying to make it in the mechanical perspective. But 300 years later, Newton, they discovered the electricity and magnetism to operate with them and play with those forces. So everything is based on this mechanical world in terms of the mechanical orbit, with not any consideration about electricity and magnetism. So 300 years later, they need to change the model because it's based on just giant balls, playing like a pinball, and that is not the case. That is my opinion, of course. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but
No, absolutely. I totally agree. Absolutely agree. So again, they try and drag us into this stupid argument using ball earth physics. And, I did a show on this like 4 years ago, pointing this out. And this is their biggest, their biggest appeal to people because everybody understands, or at least a lot of people understand more so how the ball earth model works. And when they try to apply it to the flat earth, then wow, all of a sudden it doesn't work anymore. So what are they supposed to think? They have no other source to draw on. So they just say, oh, well, Professor Dave must be right. And that's as far as their little minds can take it, which is really sad. Thank you.
Yeah, why are you so scared, bro?
Yeah. Yeah. Just debate it with us. So,
I think
all
that's
right.
the move. It's just ego. Hit his ego.
Yeah, totally. He is an egomaniac to the max. I mean, my God, he thinks so highly of himself. And he is so arrogant. I mean, I really have to wonder if he realizes how he comes across to people. But maybe not. All right, let's continue.
Night and day. We all know that precisely half the Earth is experiencing day and the other half is experiencing night at any given time. So your
No, I wouldn't say precisely half the Earth. That varies all over the place. And, that would definitely even be more so in the flat Earth model. And that's why the time zones don't necessarily work. And that's why they've got the time zones all jostled all over the place, because your time zones don't make any sense. If the Earth was truly the way that you guys said it would be, we would have linear lines of light and dark going down every part of it from the top of the globe to the bottom. We wouldn't need to make all these different wild and crazy time changes, right? That are completely out of step with, as far as being commensurate to, what high noon is or where the sun should be. It's just ridiculous. And I'm not exactly sure what we were showing this part of the model for, but I don't think that it was to try and demonstrate our day and night. The one that you showed before this was much better for that. So I'm not exactly sure where you're going with this, but we know anything you can, falsify, anything that you can build up to be nonsensical, that's what you're going to do.
Yeah, I
So let's
literally have a little flat Earth with a container over top of it right here. I take a flashlight, I can make exactly half of it light up very easily. So I don't know what's so confusing. I can also make the whole outside rim light up
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
coffee
If
cup
you have
process.
one of those half fisheye magnifiers, we can put the sun in there, and the sun will light up exactly like the Earth does.
Dude,
And
I
it
can
al-
literally put a flashlight over this little dome and it literally lights up half the Earth. So I just it's not even hard. It's not even actually difficult. So
We've
Yeah.
already replicated it like time and time again, yet he doesn't know about it, or at least he doesn't care. He's just gonna act like, no, it's impossible, can't be done.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's it. It's the second one.
Next thing you know, he's going to be hooking up with Jake the asshole and saying, "Oh well, what are we breathing in glass now?"
Yeah.
What a bunch of clowns! All right, let's continue on.
model must reflect that, and this one does, but at the cost of being even remotely reasonable. You've got the sun illuminating half this surface with an arbitrary and rigidly straight line down the middle. How does this work? How does light leave this object and travel one distance to stop here and travel some totally different distance to stop over here? You guys love to talk about refraction and such things, so please explain how that works. And that's not the only problem. Here, you've got the sun and moon always opposite each other. Well, sometimes we can see the sun and moon at the same time. How does that work? What is an
Yeah, well, it's good that you asked that, Dave. How does that work? And of course, we can see the sun and the moon at the same time. You're picking on a graphic that was not intended to show the actual movements. This particular graphic was a generalization. Uh, we have in-depth graphics produced by Steve
Torrance.
that show the flat Earth model with the perfect sunrise and sunset times and the moon positions and sun positions for an entire year. You can't do that. You have to have time and date, set these things for you. And we should have equinoxes on the same date every year. We don't. In fact, the equinox generally spans over 4 days. But you don't seem to criticize anything like that. And speaking of seeing the sun and the moon in the same time, at the same time for eclipses, what about selenelians? How in the world are you supposed to see? How is the moon supposed to be, or Earth supposed to be eclipsing the sun if you are, did I get that wrong? Let's see.
And one thing I was going to say is I have a problem. I've just noticed it so much lately that the Globers' go-to response is always, how does this work then? And how does this work? And it's like, none of us are claiming to be God, all knowing. We're saying we found this lie. We no longer believe this lie, right? So it's the equivalent of me going through my mom's paperwork and finding an adoption certificate for myself and realizing, oh my God, am I adopted? My parents aren't my real parents. And so I go show somebody and they're like, well, then who's your real family? I say, well, I don't know. And they're like, well, then I don't believe, I think that's your family. Like, what do you mean? Here's the
I like that.
doesn't
That's
make
a
any
good way of
sense.
saying it.
And they said, well, no, unless you know your real family, then we're not looking. So unless we can give them what governments and the best mathematicians and the best scientists of their time took 300 years to do, unless we can replicate that in 4 years, then we must be wrong. Or 7 years, however long it's been.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I was right. It was so it's the Selenelian, right? Again, the sun and the moon are both above the horizon for the Earth. So how could one be eclipsing? How could anything be getting eclipsed? They're saying that it's refracting down several degrees. That's impossible. You have no demonstration of that anywhere, and I certainly don't accept that at all.
No, and in fact, they must be show us the Earth shadow, supposedly, from outside. Because if they're going to depend of the space agencies to claim that we have a picture of the Earth, well, tell them to show us an eclipse from outside. Because if not, you don't have any proof.
Exactly. And NASA will never do that. Jaron has put up the video several times of why don't you put a camera on the moon, NASA? Something very, very simple, something very cheap. It would pay for itself a million times over. Hell, with the advertisement, you could probably put a fleet of cameras up there, and they would all pay for themselves. And we would learn so much more from being able to see real, true video than your CGI explanations, which nobody believes anyway, which are totally inaccurate. Why? Right? Because they can't do it. That's why.
Yeah, not just that, but I showed a couple shows ago direct from NASA headquarters with the last moon eclipse that they tell they just tell the story that supposedly the Apollo 17 leave a camera, but 2 days later the camera was broke and nobody can see from the moon an eclipse of the moon. And when you go to the actual space orbiter, the moon recognizer lunar orbiter, they say that only the eclipse days they shoot down. So
yeah,
what's going on, man?
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, it's
And
just
you
like
can't find it on the Himawari 8 either. You don't see the moon ever.
No, they shoot down every equipment just for the moon eclipse.
Very dangerous to it, I think.
Yeah, you must be shoot down your computer too, man.
I'll start that this next eclipse.
Yep. So anyway, none of that works. And of course, NASA, they always have these phony excuses for everything, right? Why do the moon missions keep getting delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed with ridiculous reasons? If we did it 50, 60 years ago, there is no reason why we should not be able to do it today. And yet NASA fully admits they can't do it because they destroyed that technology and it's a pain to build it back again. What a bunch of nonsense. They will keep delaying the Artemis missions indefinitely because they can never send anything to the moon. They will never be able to send anything or anyone to the moon. And if they do manage to put something, send something to the moon, so to speak, you can bet your bottom dollar every bit of it will be a CGI production because there is no way that you can even go to the moon. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and back to Professor Dave just real quick and saying, how does that work? How can that happen? You can't do that? Well, yeah, I've seen plenty of videos of flat earthers taking hemispherical lens and a small light source above it and making these exact shapes mechanically with, man-made tools. So, yeah, this can be done. It wasn't hard to find coffee cup caustic, things like that. It's possible. And you're a professor of what now again? I hope it has nothing to do
Chemistry,
with science.
supposedly, but
Yeah.
he admitted later that he has script writers He needs better script writers because frankly, they suck. And if his script writers are saying, well, if you can't understand that, I don't know what to tell you. That just means your script writers have no idea how anything works. They might even know less than you do. But I don't think he has script writers. I think he's just sitting there winging it and denying everything, point blank across the board. So let's continue.
Eclipse. When in this model does the moon get under the sun to block it? How do they get on opposite sides of the Earth for a lunar eclipse? If the sun is very, very close and is also the source of all our heat, why doesn't it get hotter when you go up towards it in elevation? None of it works.
Oh my God. Okay. The reason being is because in the flat Earth model, the sun is contained within the firmament. Okay. In other words, there is a barrier that separates us. And, theoretically, it is getting hot there, right? What's this thermosphere that the ISS is flying around in, right? It's supposed to be 4,500 degrees Fahrenheit. Why isn't it melting the ISS? Oh, well, because the
There's no air or something.
air molecules are so sparse that they simply cannot, heat anything, right? It's like it nonsense, lame excuses.
Does the ISS have a surface?
Well, it has a lot of reflectors.
Well, that would
But
it
with
would generate the
white,
heat. That would accept the heat.
yeah, but
like
they
saying that-
use a special paint, a white satellite paint.
Oh, I didn't know about the paint.
I always
Yeah.
point to a hot metal slide. It's not the air that's making the slide hot. It's the sun.
It's
So,
direct radiation.
yeah, it's direct radiation. So, yeah, it's just crazy ridiculous to me right there. Oh, it's too sparse. It's because, no, it's not the air that's making it hot. Come on.
Yeah, so when you look in the thermosphere, yeah, it is a whole lot. And isn't it interesting that right there in that zone, that thermosphere is theoretically where the sun is in the flat Earth model. And I always thought that was kind of an eyebrow raiser, even though when we ask, well, where's the heat? Where are the manifestations of the heat? You can't seem to show it. But hey, if we brought up a chart right now, it would show the thermosphere roughly, going up to roughly where we think the sun might be over at around 3,900 miles. That's kind of interesting, don't you think? It's a different model, Dave. It's a completely different model, and you're comparing apples and oranges. And again, when you start taking yours apart, it doesn't go back together again because it is complete conjecture. At least ours has a preponderance of evidence. We have different data points, things that actually support the assertions that we make about it. It's as simple as that. Okay, let's continue.
We've barely even started, but let's review. We are trying to explain just two phenomena, seasons and night and day. To do this, you have two different models, both of which are incompatible with observation, but furthermore, they are
Because you said so,
incompatible with
right?
each other. Why?
Right, because he said so. We just explained obviously that is not true. Hopefully this will be the last we hear of that, because believe me, we can go into a lot more detail. By the way, Mr. Professor Dave, when you did your stupid video, the 10 things that all flat earthers say, you were notified that there was a roughly 12 to 13 hour rebuttal series of like 9 or 10 videos to that video. Did you talk about it? Oh, hell no. No, you didn't. Why? Because it completely destroyed everything that you said. And this is something, it is on our channel. It is a playlist, and you will see that there's an entire playlist of a response to the 10 things that the all flat earthers say. It completely blows Professor Dave out of the water. But of course, YouTube isn't going to give that any press because they don't want their golden boy of insults and red herrings a bad name. So, yeah.
He could also apologize for the 8 inches per mile squared nonsense.
Oh, that's coming up. Believe me. Yeah, that's something that's definitely coming up here in a bit. But he is so far off on the, oh, you can't predict anything with it. Yeah, you can. Everything that you said about the 8 inches per square mile, Dave, was dead wrong. We have had it confirmed through 4 different methods of trigonometry, the Sagitta, AutoCAD, and last but not least, the 8 inches per mile squared, which I would venture to say is probably one of the overall most accurate methods until you get to over 1,000 miles. Then there's a problem, but we'll get to that. So let's continue on.
Why can't you even attempt to explain both of these phenomena at the same time? Going back to your day and night model, it's weird because you said that the sun moves between the tropics. Why isn't that shown here? Because if you did show that, you'd also have to change something about how far the light reaches, which would make this already absurd graphic even more absurd. Then, if we go back to the one...
Okay, this is the graphic that you should be looking at to determine that, Dave, not the other one. And this one, like I said, we have a complete year's worth of data on the sun and the moon positions, the sun and the moon lighting effect on the Earth, and it is quite accurate. Certainly more so than the globe Earth model. And yeah, I should pull that up. If anybody knows where that Steve Torrance video is, maybe we can pull it up for good old Professor Dave. Not that he's going to look, because he'll just deny it. But let's continue.
One for the seasons, why can't you show the dark half and light half while showing this? It's deliberately not shown because it would be obviously inconsistent. Therein lies the problem with the flat Earth model. You don't have one. You can't.
Neither do you, Dave. In fact, the globe Earth model, every globe, which didn't appear until 1492, has on the bottom of it that basically it says it's a toy and it's for entertainment purposes only. It is not for scientific purposes, anything like that. The continent sizes, my good God, if NASA really photographed the Earth, and any photograph that we got from NASA were of the true continent sizes, they would be more reminiscent of the Gauss-Peters projections, but they're not. They're showing the old Mercator's projections. Why is that? Wait a minute. They admit full well that the Mercator projection is wrong. The continent sizes are completely distorted, and yet our so-called photographic evidence of the globe from NASA shows the wrong projection of the continent sizes. How do you explain that, Dave? Well, what that tells me is that the globe is the only thing that you have, and it's dead wrong, and every other map of the Earth is on a flat surface, Dave, which means that all maps are flat Earth maps. And anything that is purported to be a globe is just simply dead wrong. The Gleason map is not a globe projection. It is a flat Earth azimuthal equidistant type of map, and it is quite accurate. Actually, it's very accurate in so many ways that there's a reason why the UN and everybody else is using it for their map, right? So I just don't get it. Explain to us how the globe with the wrong size continents can make any sense whatsoever. How can NASA actually take a picture of something that is a complete fantasy? Dave, any comments?
Mm-mm.
Well, you guys are easy.
This guy puts you in such a bad mood. You're like, I just want to punch something.
Yeah, I know, especially him. It's unbelievable. But again, this is the problem that we deal with a lot of globers. They just make shit up, on the fly completely. They don't deal with the preponderance of evidence. They don't deal with anything other than nuh-uh or straw mans or anything like that, ad hominem attacks. And this guy's the king of ad hominems. and that's why, Dave, you ever debate Austin, you're going to get destroyed, and your little ego is going to go crying into a corner, and we're just not going to feel sorry for you at all, Dave.
Well,
Sorry,
he doesn't
buddy.
like admitting that he doesn't know stuff, even
Right.
about even about the flat Earth. He doesn't know about the flat Earth, and so he won't even admit that. Like, he did a little bit in the very beginning there, but after that, it's like, oh, I already know everything about the flat Earth. It doesn't work, and even though he's clearly never studied it, he doesn't know what the firmament is, and that wasn't part of his model. And yeah, he doesn't know about this atmospheric refraction stuff going on, and yeah, so that's all he's got is straw man. It doesn't work because I said so. I don't want it to work, therefore I'm not going to allow it to start to make sense in my mind at all.
Yep, absolutely true.
Just
All right.
I want to just mention two things on Buzz Aldrin real quick. I didn't know this. His grandfather also committed suicide, and he's on a mission to try and get money from Disney because he says they stole his name for Buzz Lightyear. So you're not allowed to use the word Buzz, I guess, anymore. Only one
Oh,
Buzz will
wow.
ever exist. That's a joke. Give the guy some money. Come on, you stole his name.
Yeah, no doubt.
So just be
Unbelievable.
careful with that buzzword. There's no Buzz News might be in trouble too. BuzzFeed,
Yep.
News, watch out.
Yeah, BuzzFeed. All right, let's continue.
Can't even explain two phenomena with the same model. The globe model has no problem doing this.
The globe model has every problem doing this, Dave. Let's see what you have to say about it.
This ball spins, so the half facing the sun is day and the other half is night. As it goes around the sun, the hemisphere receiving more direct sunlight experiences summer. The one with less experiences winter. That's right. Sorry to burst your bubble. It doesn't correlate with the distance from the sun. Sunlight shining directly on the ground, more energy per square mile, hotter. Sunlight at an angle to the ground, same amount of energy distributed around a greater area, cooler. And there it is. Both the seasons and day and night are explained immaculately and, go figure, simultaneously.
Except the globe is supposed to be a lot warmer in the wintertime, but colder in the summertime, or the distance.
Yeah, they need to recreate that. They need to recreate. They need to take a little sphere, a super big, giant light, and present us that supposedly tiny inclination is going to compensate and make the model work. Trying to recreate at scale and show us all the sunset and sunrises all over the supposedly sphere that happened in the real life, which you cannot recreate that. In that scale, the sphere is going to be illuminated half of the sphere all the time. You cannot recreate anything that we see in the sky.
And also to bring up just to bring up again, when we're talking about the sun going faster in the south, that I forgot, Sasha brought up a great point that in their model, they have to have the sun closer during the southern summer because the sun does move faster in the sky in their model as well. Because think about it, that's the smaller end of the orbit, right? So what I'm saying is if you have an elliptical orbit, the sun is going to be closer to one side or the other. So it's closer to the southern summer side, which means that there the sun would move faster in the sky.
Exactly, but Dave didn't know that. Did you, Dave?
No,
that it actually does change speed. And so does the moon, Dave. I bet you didn't know that either. This guy knows absolutely nothing.
His writers will let him know.
Yeah. I mean, what a dunce. What a complete dunce this guy is. He knows absolutely nothing. And not only that, he says that it all depends on the angle of the Earth, as to how much sunlight we get that really makes the difference in winter and summer, despite the fact that in our wintertime, the Northern Hemisphere is 300 diameter Earths or 4 million miles, something like that, closer to the sun, right? Then and obviously that's counterintuitive to how it should be. So Dave, Flat Earth Dave raised a really good point. Well, what's the difference of that and the Earth simply rotating on a normal day, right? So you're rotating. You start at 7 o'clock in the morning, 6, 7 in the morning. The sun is rising, goes on towards noon, and eventually the sun is directly above you. And then as it rolls away, it's doing essentially the same type of thing, but it doesn't drop off to anywhere near as cold as it gets in the wintertime. How is that possible with the sun being 4 million miles closer, right?
The inverse square law applies to heat just as much as it does to light.
It applies to a lot of things. It absolutely does. But it's just astounding that Dave doesn't understand this. And
he's never questioned things before, and this is kind of the blindfold that we're trying to open people up to kind of realize what kind of blindfold they've been wearing their whole life, and you start to figure this stuff out when you take that blindfold off.
Yep, exactly. So, all right, let's continue on.
Honestly, I could stop right here. If you were to respond to this with anything other than a model that can explain at least those first two observations simultaneously, your viewers should find that very indicative of the fact that you don't have one.
Well, too bad, Dave, because we already did respond to it, and our model works better than yours by a long shot.
And still, if their model's garbage, it doesn't matter. There's no requirement that you have to replace the lie with the truth. If we don't know it, what we need to do is get people to wake up to the lie, and then when we have more people that are interested in finding the truth, it'll be easier to find. That's the thing we need to look at. I thought that was going to happen.
Well said.
Yep. Okay, let's continue.
Hello, owner of Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A.
Well, yeah, if NASA was actually spending all that money to tell us the truth, we would know a lot more if we got the actual data. But
I think
we
know
don't.
if we put Zach in charge of NASA one day, we'd know more than we've known in the last 50 years.
Oh, give me a month.
All right, give him a month.
All right, let's continue.
But while we're here, let's go through a few dozen more key points. Given that we're on the subject of models, let's hit the one you use for your explanation of the Coriolis effect.
You can kind of draw a clockwise orbit, Bob, in the middle there. And you can see how this would cause, there you go, if the sun and moon are moving in this and, they're diamagnetic and pushing water, causing tides. And then you've also got these winds that and storms that would, have to be what the sun and moon would cause.
Would have to be? How? You haven't explained anything. So the sun pushes water to get the air currents and the moon pulls water to get the tides?
No, the sun. God, the sun
inserted gravity in there.
Yeah, exactly. The sun is pushing on the upper atmospheres, and as it goes through it, it kind of sets off in between the tropics. It kind of sets off a counter-rotating, like a counterclockwise rotation in the south and a clockwise rotation in the north, or maybe backwards from that. I don't remember exactly, but that is what's causing those upper air currents to actually change.
And it's really done by the air temperature being heated and cooled, right? So anytime you heat that temperature, the air is going to rise, and then it's going to be rushed in by more cold air.
Very likely, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a couple different possibilities that it could certainly be that way. I'm not exactly sure where you're getting Coriolis out of this, because honestly, Coriolis is nothing but a fiction fantasy. The Earth is not spinning. Coriolis is an illusion. It is not anything that is real, because airplanes don't have to abide by it, anything like that. But snipers supposedly do, even though they really don't. I mean, it's just one big fairy tale. There is no Coriolis effect going on in the Earth, period. So I'm not even sure where you're getting that explanation from with this.
And what is he drawing there? Why is it him? I didn't ever even seen this before. What is that drawing supposed to be? Maybe just rewind it just a second so I can hear him talk about that.
Yeah, this was me. I had the AE map up. I'm not sure what he's doing. Let me back it up.
Yeah, just who drew that little sun there?
But
He did.
while we're here, let's go through a few dozen more key points. Given that we're on the subject of models, let's hit the one you use for your explanation of the Coriolis effect.
You can kind of draw a clockwise orbit, Bob, in the middle there. And you can see how this would cause, there you go, if the sun and moon are moving in this and, they're diamagnetic and pushing water, causing tides. And then you've also got these winds that and storms that would, have to be what the sun and moon would cause.
Would have to be? How? You haven't.
Okay, so again, the diamagnetic would be the repulsion of the magnetic field. The sun generates repulsion on the water, and the heat and or even the diamagnetism from the sun repulsing in the water of the atmosphere, right? Because the atmosphere is considered a fluid, just like water is.
And the biggest tides would be when you have the moon, right? So if they're farther away,
you're cut out.
Pulling and nice there. So I was saying that I think their tides are largest in the new moon and full moon, which really makes no sense in their model anyway, because the moon's always there, right? So it's not like it's should make a big difference. But for us, when it does do that, if the moon and sun are on the same side, I think that would cause a large tide because it's going to be pulling a lot of water. And then if they're separated, that would be a large tide as well. Everything other than that would be smaller tides, right? Because you'd have the sun and moon kind of close to each other. So they would have a little bit, back forth. Because what is it? 2 times a day, right? Tide comes in and out 2 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'd almost think a full moon would have way less of a tide than a new moon. You would think the new moon side of the Earth would have a huge pull on it compared to if the moon was on the other side and gravity was
Right.
fighting,
I think so.
from the sun and the moon, and we were right in the middle. So yeah, it's weird. It just doesn't make any sense.
And then let me hear what he says here where he places that sun in there.
Okay, here we go.
Explained anything. So the sun pushes water to get the air currents, and the moon pulls water to get the tides. Also, does the sun push the atmosphere in one direction to the right and magically in the other direction to the left? What about storm rotation, which is what this whole thing was about? You've made no attempt to even put the sun and moon in there and physically explain anything. You just say words relating to electromagnetism and hand wave it away.
No, Dave, we're not trying to claim that it's all caused by magnetism. My God,
Yeah, exactly. No, we're not claiming. I don't even know how to address this fool. We are saying.
Well, Jaron clearly said where the sun and moon were traveling. He pointed out with his pointer and said the sun and moon are going in this circle right here.
Right.
So he did say where the sun and moon were. He didn't draw a picture like you, Dave. Sorry.
And I'm not saying that it's the correct motion, because it's not. It's the actual opposite, but it still is probably the main cause. But if you go back to that picture where the sun is on there, you have to picture that as the moon would be traveling to the left here, a little bit more forward, where he had that little sun with the little arrows.
Yeah, where'd it go?
I don't know where it was. Oh, I don't know where it's gone. All right, never mind. Go ahead.
I got way too far forward. Yeah. Hang on a second. I don't know how the hell I did that, but I did. Hang on.
That's a good
pause
pause
we're
face.
Right at the beginning. I got you.
Yeah, I got people in chat playing a pause face game because people were complaining at first about, I don't want to see his ugly face. It's like, well, just everybody just describe what you see him
sun
doing.
And moon are
Yep. Okay, here we go.
magnetic and pushing water, causing tides, and then you've also got these.
So I'm showing with my mouth the way the
winds
sun
that,
goes, right? And so we'll keep going until he gets to the sun.
Storms that would,
you can
have
pause.
to
You can
be
turn
what
off
the
the
sun
volume.
and moon would cause.
Would
You don't
have to.
hear that guy anymore, but just pause it when it gets to the sun. So think of the sun's coming through there, and he draws those 2 arrows in separate directions. But if you look at those arrows that he draws, those are both the same, dipshit. Those are both anti-clockwise. So nobody believes that. If the sun is going up, nope, rewind. I need that sun up there.
Oh, okay.
Just a smidgen. Okay, from right there, press play and then pause it when it gets to the sun. So, I mean, this is the kind of thing where what he's drawing there, he's like, oh, well, look at what are you saying that they go in opposite. Well, no, that's the same. That's both anti-clockwise. So no, think of the air coming to the top of that sun and to the bottom of it, right? The air coming to the top would be whipped around in a counterclockwise, and the air going to the bottom would whip around clockwise. So his arrows are just wrong. And again, the storms are actually the opposite of that direction, but it's that problem on the globe too. Remember, the globe is spinning, and the globe is spinning, and these airs go opposite of what they would that you would think, at least, because the way it works is in the north, everything veers to the right. In the south, everything veers to the left.
Yeah, you were right what you were saying.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well,
but I think he's looking at the wind speed there and the way the wind, and that is still a magnetic phenomenon. The inside of a magnetic field is spinning one way in the vortex, and the outside coming in is spinning the opposite way. So that's kind of looking at a magnetic field from the top down right there.
Yeah, and not only that, you know, the coherency of a flat Earth projection, or the Gleason's, you know, basically the A projection, which again, I don't even think it's a projection. I think it's the real deal. You have these counter-rotating fields, and of course, if we change the altitude, we see that the outside and inside rings change direction. And even NASA admits that this is the way that it works, because they say that's how their tethering works. They put electrostatic tether on their satellites, so to speak, and they are able to navigate them just like the spider does, going up and down in the electrostatic field. And there you have it. So I don't know. Let's continue on.
Push the atmosphere in one direction to the right and magically in the other direction to the left? What about storm rotation, which is what this whole thing was about? You've made no attempt to even put the sun and moon in there and physically explain anything. You just say words relating to electromagnetism and hand wave it away.
No, Dave, we're not.
Yeah, no, Dave, you do that. We don't. We build it with the preponderance of evidence. And like I said, you got 10, 12 hours worth of videos waiting for you in response to your ridiculous 10 things that flat earthers always say. We responded in kind, in spades, and you can't even address it because you got nothing to say about it. Let's continue.
And he likes to say
claim that it's
flat earthers always say, but how many flat earthers does he actually highlight as actually saying that?
None.
You know what I mean? Exactly. He's not quoting anyone. He's just saying, they say this. I'm not going to point any fingers at anyone, but they say it, you know, because I said so.
Yep.
All caused by magnetism. My God, you extrapolate stuff that is just utterly ridiculous. We never said that. And they are electromagnetic phenomenon, like we have been claiming for a long time. Electromagnetic, like we have been claiming for a long time.
And another thing here, guys, even if we grant you this magnetic magic that you're looking for, it's still inconsistent with your model. Here's why.
The line going through the middle of the screen, if you picture the sun traveling from the right side of the screen to the left, it would create those same wind patterns above and below it.
Sorry, didn't you say that the sun moves from tropic to tropic? In that case, the boundary that divides the direction of storm rotation would also move from tropic to tropic.
It does. And in fact, this is far from a foregone conclusion that you have a rotation in one hemisphere and an opposite rotation in the other hemisphere. Generally, it goes that way, but it is not that way all the time. Your model demands that it has to go that way all the time. So I don't even understand what you're trying to say here, Dave. Do you guys? Yeah, I didn't think so. Well,
I don't know.
No.
I just think about the video I did about finding the odd tornado going the wrong direction on the globe.
It happens. It absolutely does. So, all right, let's continue.
Doesn't. Storm rotation doesn't vary by the time of year. Also, why wouldn't compasses follow the sun through the sky? Also, why wouldn't storms speed up during the day while near the sun and slow down at night when the sun is away? Also, if you're claiming these southern winds are so incredibly fast, how is that possible if they're the furthest away from the source of the effect? None of it makes sense.
Sure it does. And the reason the compass doesn't follow the sun through the sky is because we have a much stronger, higher Tesla source here on Earth, which is at the North Pole. But of course, that's not in your heliocentric model either. Yet it is well documented in history and many other cultures, many other cosmologies. Just because NASA doesn't want to accept it doesn't mean that it isn't real. In fact, a lot of the phenomena that NASA does not talk about has been documented in detail throughout time by many, many different astronomers. So you are far from having all of the answers, Dave. So
It doesn't make sense to him because he's never looked into it and found out why.
Yeah, he knows everything, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Let's continue.
In actuality, the Coriolis effect is just the result of basic physics relating to rotating bodies. That's why the equator is the dividing line. Pretty simple, don't you think?
No.
Which makes a whole lot more sense than the Coriolis effect, being the reason in the heliocentric on the ball Earth for storms going in opposite sides of the equator. In fact, that is just silly when you think about that.
Yeah, and not only that, Dave, show us any proof anywhere that has demonstrated unequivocally that the Earth is rotating at 15 degrees per hour. Now, you can say, oh, that Bob Nodell guy did it in Behind the Curve, yada, 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 but you guys are completely ignorant about that. We are talking about the luminiferous ether, and it was also confirmed over 100 years ago by the Michelson-Gale experiment, which said, hey, either the Earth is rotating or there is an ether rotating around the Earth. Why do you suppose, Dave, that mainstream science has not latched on to Michelson-Gale and said, well, there's our proof positive about Earth rotation? I'll tell you why. Because then they'd have to explain why Michelson-Morley was a total failure, and they didn't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole, so they just simply mathematically eliminated the luminiferous ether.
And he showed his arrows then, and again, his arrows don't match storm patterns. Now he doesn't mention that. He just says this is understood by physics that everything in the north goes to the right and everything in the left goes to the or everything in the south goes to the left. But it's not the way storms go; they go the opposite way. But yeah, I mean, this guy. Here's what we have to remember too. I think he's never going to change his mind. I mean, he can't. He's dug in. This is his career. This is where he probably made $30,000-$40,000 off that video. So he's not going to ever see the right of way. So we just have to remember that when we're trying to point out why he's wrong. But I think trying to convince him or get him to see things, or why don't you look at this, he'll never do that.
No, and hopefully, we're appealing to some of the people, the onlookers on the outside, that actually still have a brain left to think for themselves, because Dave has no brain. I mean, I hate to say that, but his deductive and reasoning capabilities are next to non-existent. And between that and his strawmans and ad hominems, it's ridiculous. So again, like I said, Dave, debate Austin. We dare ya.
Well, Dave is a victim of the educational system here in the United States. Dave also believes that men can have children. So there you go.
Screwed up.
Yeah.
He probably
He's like
does,
another
but-
one of those people.
No, he
Define
does.
woman.
He does, Bob.
Oh, I don't
He
know about
actually
that. I'm not
does,
a
Bob. Yeah.
biologist.
He's come out and said it. Did an interview, and Matt Walsh tore him apart.
Yeah, did a whole
Oh,
video.
God.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Okay, let's continue.
That makes no
Really?
sense whatsoever. It's ridiculous.
No.
Wow. Very convincing counter argument. Let's move on.
Astronomy and
Yeah, almost as good as your hand wave dismissals, huh, Dave?
astrophysics and all of that. Dave, these aren't even real sciences. Okay. Now, you obviously are going to claim that they are, but the reason that they're not real sciences is because the only thing that you can do is observe them. You cannot test them. You cannot do anything to be interactive with them. You cannot generate hypotheses or experiments or anything like that. All you can do is simply observe.
Sorry, guys, that's dead wrong. There are hundreds of examples I could choose, but I'll use this one. In the 19th century, we noticed irregularities in the orbit of Uranus. We realized these irregularities could be explained if there was another planet
Stop
perturbing
saying
its
we.
orbit by gravitational influence.
Yeah, I'm going to stop this right here, Dave. And no, nobody observed irregularities in the orbit of Uranus. How do I know that, Dave? Well, because science cannot even predict or solve a three-body problem. What you are saying to us here is that you're looking at the entire solar system, all the planets interacting with the sun, and saying that, oh, well, gee, something isn't right here. It's not going to our prediction model, and something must be wrong. So there must be another body in there somewhere. Really, Dave? Show us that map.
Think of that would take. It would take you knowing the mass of Uranus. So you knew that? That's how you knew to check it? Because if it's, why not just add more mass or take it away? Wouldn't the orbit fix then?
And isn't it even after, I bet he leaves off the end, after Pluto was discovered, they still had this problem and said there still has to be a planet X out there?
Yes.
So this is.
So they didn't solve Jack.
Yeah,
they didn't
do
solve
anything.
Jack. Nope. And again, they can't even solve a three-body problem. So to sit there and say that we extrapolated it and conclusively came to the conclusion that there had to be another planet Uranus size out there is bullshit. Point blank. And if you believe that, then you are gullible as hell, because you can't even solve a 3-body problem, Dave. And don't give me this frame of reference crap either. Frames of reference are nothing more than they're a complete fiction. That's just something that's put there to obfuscate and confuse people, because saying that everything only moves relative to everything else is complete horse manure. You can say, well, what does the sun move relative to? Well, I would say that the sun, you can test it if it's moving, if it moves relative to where it was 5 minutes ago, right? Is it in a different place or is it in the same place? It's in a different place. Therefore, it's moving. And this whole and so supposedly is every other planet in the solar system, right? Sorry, Dave, it doesn't work that way. So your
I
assumptions
wonder
are
if
just
Dave
crazy.
believes science proves anything.
Yeah, it's Dave's. He's an idiot. Anyway, let's continue.
We did some math and predicted that there should be another planet in a particular place. We looked in that place, and what do you know? There it was. You can't get any more empirical than that. Do some math, make a prediction, the prediction is verified. The discovery of Neptune is a great example that corroborates Newtonian gravitational theory and demonstrates that astronomy is an empirical science, just like any other. It's not surprising that you don't understand this, because this is one of many instances that you demonstrate yourselves to be exemplars of the dunning-kruger effect. This is where your absolutely minimal experience has lured you into believing that you...
Newtonian gravity? This
Yeah,
proves Newtonian gravity?
Yeah.
Does he not know that that was like superseded a long time ago?
Yeah, but the ballers these days will say, no, they support each other. They're one and the same thing. And that space-time, it's not space and time, it's space-time, and that, that supposedly validates it. What a bunch of nonsense. Space is a privation, time is a concept. Mixing them together does not give you anything new, except a load of BS. And it's hogwash.
I mean, you could put
have
space in front of
expertise in-
anything, right? Space coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
in a particular field, where in reality, you are essentially incompetent. It is a cognitive bias that will be demonstrated many more times in this video. Now let's move on to another category.
Yeah, too bad you haven't demonstrated it yet, Dave. I doubt you even know what dunning-kruger means, because if you did, you would know that you are guilty of it to the nth degree.
There are about 1,000 flat Earth gotchas that all amount to an inability to understand conservation of momentum. These are your helicopters and planes arguments. Let's see which ones you're guilty of.
Oh, this is going to be
Muds.
good.
Just mud throwing here.
Yep, this is going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you're doing an Olympic, say, long jump event, I would always opt to jump from east to west, because where you're going to land should be racing towards you.
No. When you jump off the Earth or take off from the Earth, you retain the momentum imparted upon you by the rotation of the Earth. This has nothing to do with the atmosphere. It's also very easy to prove. Stand on the back of a moving truck. Jump up. What happens? Do you fly back off the truck at 30 miles an hour? No. You land right back where you started, even though the truck has moved forward while you were in the air.
Yes, in a linear motion, Dave, that is true, in a linear motion. That doesn't invalidate what John the Morgile said, though. You will still feel a distinct difference whether you're running one way or the opposite direction, in opposition to the direction that whatever you're riding on is going. And what you're about to do is you're about to commit a fallacy where you're going to apply this linear motion to an angular change. So basically, you think that a straight line is the same thing as turning around in a circle, and you're about to make a huge fallacy on that, and we're about to show you where you're dead wrong about that.
Why?
Has Dave
Because in the
seriously
air,
never
you
stuck
retain
his
the...
hand out the window at 60 miles an hour?
Yeah, he acts like the wind isn't going to do anything. It's like, what a moron. But
forward momentum of the truck.
Does the
when you
atmosphere
jump
move
off the
along with
Earth
truck
or
as
take...
well?
I'm sorry, Jared?
Does the atmosphere move along with the truck as well?
Yeah, supposedly. According to him, it must.
Take off from the Earth, the same thing applies.
And of course, the globe earthers are going to say, well, you have your momentum that's lent to you by the Earth, spinning east, and you're going to retain that momentum forever. And the same thing applies to airline flights.
Yeah, you got it. So are we good here?
But if you do a test on a train or, like you said, on a plane, and just simply jog from the front of a moving train to the rear and maybe time yourself or just observe, and then do the same thing running or jogging to the front of the moving train. I've done this myself. I promise you that you'll find that it is much easier to run from the front of the train to the rear.
That's your test? Pretty tough to reproduce, don't you think? Here's an idea. What if it was
What?
That's hard to reproduce.
That's hard
No,
to reproduce.
It's easy to reproduce. You just get on a people mover at the airport and you can do the same thing.
People mover.
Unreal.
So it's harder to jog to the front of the train because the
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, because I've always had this question I don't get. So let's say we leave the Earth. So we somehow also retain the 66,000 mile per hour around the sun, right? Because I remember I made a claim way back when I very first started. I was like, why don't we just get off the Earth and wait for the moon to come to us? And then, Globers went crazy and said, because you're moving the same speed as the Earth because you took off from the Earth and it's going, okay. So if we start flying away from the Earth towards Mars, at what point do we have to transition to the speed of Mars orbit? Do we have to calculate that within that speed? Like there's no transition point. We just keep getting carried along. Even if you're 10, 20 million miles away from the Earth, you still are carrying its orbital speed. That's insane to me. Just doesn't know how it works.
Exactly. It's crazy. So yeah, now he's about to demonstrate that he has no clue the difference between a linear path and a curvilinear path. And this one just shows how stupid you really are, Dave. This one is beyond belief, but let's hear it.
Train was speeding up slightly. Try it again when the train is slowing down. I bet your results will change. Sorry, this is not a valid experiment.
25-mile target from the New Jersey has a flight time of 90 seconds. So you're aiming 90 degrees from the ship straight to the equator to hit that lighthouse. And it takes 90 seconds for the bullet to get there. Problem is, in 90 seconds at the equator, the Earth moves 25 miles. So it takes 90 seconds for the bullet to get from the ship to the lighthouse. But in that 90 seconds, the lighthouse moves 25 miles. So you're going to miss it by 25 miles.
Here's the funny part. You so thoroughly don't understand conservation of momentum that when you presented this whole bit to me, it was supposed to have something to do with the Coriolis effect. But like I said,
it was not. It wasn't supposed to have anything to do with the Coriolis effect. We were demonstrating curvilinear versus linear paths. In a curvilinear path, Dave, you are accelerating by the very nature of the fact that you are turning. When you are in a turn, you are by definition in a curvilinear path. Okay, so you are dead wrong on this, and let's continue on. We're going to show you where.
This basic fact of physics has nothing to do with the atmosphere. The boat and the bullet and lighthouse are all moving around the Earth together, and the bullet will continue with the same momentum that the boat has once it...
Wrong. What you're showing us here is the boat and the bullet and the lighthouse all in a linear path with each other. The boat, in this example that we ran, is north of the equator, firing to the south towards the equator at the lighthouse there. And remember, the Earth is rotating, right? So on the outside edge, it is not staying in a linear path. And by the time it takes for that bullet to get there, it has literally gone out of range of that bullet. And all of this, Dave, because you don't understand the difference between a linear versus a curvilinear path. You are a moron. I mean, get it right, Dave.
Leaves the gun. Again, super easy to prove. Get back on that moving truck. This time, bring a friend and pass a ball back and forth. You will...
Once again, linear path, not curvilinear, just a linear path. Of course, it's going to work this way. Yes, that's your conservation of momentum, but you obviously don't know the difference. You're probably one of those people that thinks that there is no acceleration if you're driving around in a car around in circles.
But this isn't even true because there's atmosphere and the ball would be blown backwards. So
well, that's true.
Usually they try and put it in an airplane, and then the problem with that is, of course, the Earth doesn't have a roof. So he's kind of mixing the two up and confusing people.
That's true. But even if even if we gave him the roof on it, it still doesn't make any difference. We are talking about a curvilinear versus a linear path. There is a massive difference in the two.
You'll observe that the ball does not fly off the back of the truck when it leaves your hands. Instead, you will be passing it precisely as you would expect if you were just standing on the ground. Another way of expressing this is that you two and the ball and the truck constitute an inertial reference frame. This is another thing that you guys have a really hard time with, so let's go through that too.
Here is a much more accurate depiction in the heliocentric model of what our solar system is actually doing. Now, where is Kepler's laws in this particular model, Dave? The mathematics for this are not being taken into account.
This graphic is stupid. The blue trails don't exist or mean anything, and the solar system is not a vortex.
Oh God, this graphic is stupid because this is not a.
The mathematics for this are not being taken into account.
This graphic is stupid. The blue trails don't exist or mean anything.
But the Ross-Kiva model not. He cannot accept that that was just an early model of the sun going tropic by tropic.
Yeah, and Dave, what the blue trails mean is those are the traces of the planets that, by very definition, if they are following a sun that is traveling at 67,000 miles an hour around the universe, and they are also at the same time going around in what you call a flat, a flat plane, but going around the sun, then the resultant pattern is going to be exactly what you see there, a spiraled pattern around the sun. And how you can sit there and deny this is so unbelievable that it just boggles the mind. I mean, how can you?
The only thing about that graphic is it's sped up, right? That's
it's sped up, but we're still. He says that the blue trails don't exist or mean anything. Well, the blue trails may not exist because nobody's drawing lines in them, but what they are representing is the spiral path, the actual spiral path of the planets around the sun. And to say they don't exist and that isn't what they are depicting is absurd, because that is exactly what they are showing. And that is exactly how it would have to work if the sun is rocketing through the solar system at 67,000 miles an hour. And it is you only come up with these stupid relativity, frame of reference types of things so that you can get rid of the sun moving. And you can say, nope, everything's just sitting in a standard flat plane and the planets are going around it in a flat plane, which is not true at all. Unreal.
And I'm pretty sure it wasn't a flat earther who made this animation right here.
It wasn't. I got this
graphic. Is it JPL or NASA? Someone like that?
I'm not sure who got it. It was an Indian guy. The first time I ever saw it, I was in Nassim Haramine's
it's at the bottom of the screen
class. Yeah, DJS SDH is at the bottom. But we were actually shown this in Nassim Haramine's class when he was saying that this is, he was telling us that this is a far more accurate depiction of our solar system than it just sitting there flat. He goes, obviously, it is not just sitting there flat. The sun is rocketing through the Milky Way at all these, and there's even more angular paths and speeds that are added on top of that. After we get done with the 67,000 mile an hour sun path, then we have the Milky Way, which is going around at 500,000, 400,000, something like that, around the Great Attractor. It's like, no, there is a whole range of different directions and different speeds. And for you to sit there and say, no, that isn't the way that works. No, all you're going to do is hand wave dismiss it. Here, we're going to hear it right now.
Well, it's 1.2 million miles per hour around the Great Attractor.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I had that wrong.
This would be going 480,000 here. This
okay.
And then
my bad. You're right. That is 480. And the Earth would be going around the sun at 67. Okay, so obviously we have all these different speeds that are just rocketing around all over the place. And I apologize for getting my facts a little confused, but that's what I've got Jaron for. So let's continue on and watch him hand wave this.
And the solar system is not a vortex. All the motion happens within a plane, and we see that plane in the sky. It's called the ecliptic, where all the planets live. But more importantly, what you're trying to imply is that because the solar system is moving through the galaxy, this should change all the laws of physics. It doesn't. Here's why. Let's do another experiment. Drop a ball and see how long it takes to hit the ground. Now let's get back on that truck, move at a constant velocity relative to the ground, and do it again.
And here he is demonstrating another linear frame of reference, right? Another linear motion when we have just shown that we have angular accelerations going on all over the freaking place. We have the angular acceleration of the moon, of the Earth spinning at 1,037 miles an hour. We have the angular motion of the Earth going around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour. We have the, on and on and on. All of those are angular. And what does he do? He goes right back to the same linear motion horse manure. Sorry, Dave, you're wrong.
We get the same thing. Now get on a plane and do it again. The plane is moving much faster, but you still get the same result. Each of these is an inertial reference frame. The laws of physics are exactly the same in every inertial reference frame. So the results of this experiment are the same in each of these frames, no matter what speed it is moving relative to something else. That's because all motion is relative to something else. So I'm sorry, it doesn't matter how fast the solar system is moving relative to the center of the Milky Way, or how fast the Milky Way is moving relative to some other galaxy. There is no absolute motion.
There most certainly is absolute motion, and it's been proven every time it's ever been put to the test, Dave. You show us where it hasn't been. Your relative motion argument that you make has been debunked 1,000 ways from Tuesday because, well, it'd take a whole nother several hours to talk about that, but it's ridiculous, Dave. And you need to learn the difference between an accelerated, a linear, and a curvilinear motion, because clearly you don't have a clue the difference between the two.
There is only relative motion. And these big numbers that you're throwing out for shock value are irrelevant to what you're saying.
We got those big numbers from NASA, Dave. Are you going to contradict NASA? Yeah.
We can treat the solar system as an inertial reference frame, and the physics works just fine.
Learn about inertial reference frames. I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, we're going to show you all about inertial reference frames, Dave.
Will you, though?
Inertial reference frames aren't going to cut it. These are absolute motions that they're telling us that they're going.
I told you, there's no such thing as absolute motion.
Yeah, there's no such thing as
Then
absolute
we don't
motion. I
orbit
love
the
this.
sun.
This is so great.
Yeah, there isn't. I'm sorry if you don't understand that. It's not my problem.
Hand wave, hand wave, hand wave. Sorry if you don't understand it. It's not my problem.
But
If
if there's
science
no
is telling
absolute
us that
motion, how would you teach children that they go around the sun?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we could sit here and bring up, and we could even Google it for days and prove him wrong for days and days and days and days and days, and he'll never accept it. I mean,
Yeah, of
my
course. He just
God.
needs to debate me live and get exposed in rapid succession.
Yeah, because he can sure put out the straw mans in rapid succession.
And again, what is the curvature of the Earth on all this?
Dude, I just can't imagine how. I mean, I can't imagine him going in there. I was like, you know what we could do since you're so worried about moderation? That was his excuse for modern day debate. I'm like, okay, well, what we could do to avoid any issue with moderation at all, we could just have 2-minute segments or 3-minute segments apiece, where we go back and forth. And you know he's deathly afraid of that, right? Because I'll be able to log all the stuff he says and then respond with specificity and expose him without him being able to interrupt me, ad-hom me, and divert away. So what he said was, no, I need to have live interaction. So whenever you start to lie like this, you can't weasel out of it. I can back you into the corner and dunk on you, and then dunk on you again, and then dunk on you again. But the truth is obviously that if he couldn't interrupt me for 2-3 minutes at a time, he would get so thoroughly exposed, it'd be like irreparable. That's
It's true.
so.
Because your brain works like 10 times faster than his does, Austin, and he knows it. You would bury him.
That's sad.
You would
It's sad that
absolutely
people
bury
can't see
him.
it. Yeah, I'm hoping that
I can see it, and I can hardly wait. If he ever takes you up on this, I will. Oh
let's just
man,
let's pretend that he'll get destroyed. Austin, I wouldn't do it, man. He's going to destroy you. You don't have any
You're
chance.
probably right. I'm kind of nervous.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
All right, let's continue.
Going at all these velocities, then you're telling science that it's not true.
So he shows my 100% at dunning-kruger, confidence and all this stuff, because I say that he is contradicting the mainstream scientific line, right? That's exactly what he's doing, and he calls me the dumb guy. What a clown.
So he's got all this confidence that he understands that the flat earth doesn't work, but he has zero experience looking into it. And so this is just him mirroring or projecting himself onto you, right?
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly what he's doing. And he's going to project all of his little problems and his little faults onto Austin as well, or he's going to try to, but Austin's going to bury him in it. Because you know what, Dave, you may be smart, but there's always somebody that's smarter, and I guarantee you, I know who it is. So bring it on, Bubba. Let's continue.
Okay, let's shift gears and come back down to Earth. You guys have a lot to say here, especially regarding the stars in the night sky.
Because the stars have never changed in all of recorded history, all of millennia. Nothing has ever changed.
False. Take the North Star. Right now, it's Polaris. In the time of the ancient Egyptians, it was another star called Thuban, which is documented. In a few thousand years, it'll be a different one still.
Proof, Dave? In a few thousand ones, that different one is going to be Vega. Where's the evidence for this, Dave? Where is that evidence? Where do we have any documented evidence besides some made up BS script that would indicate this? Not only that, but Polaris has not moved nearly far enough, even in the time that it has been documented as our North Star, which goes back over 2,000 years, to even come close to moving far enough away for Vega to become the new star. There's no motion. Vega's nowhere near the pole position at this point. So again, you're just spouting nonsense.
And the
My
chambers
textbook said so.
the chambers of the pyramid there, right now it's pointed directly at Polaris, and they say, oh, well, it used to be pointed at Thuban. So we have to believe that it was built, pointed at Thuban, then for 4,000 years it pointed at nothing, and we just happen to be living right in the time where luckily Polaris has moved into location.
Yep. Amazing, isn't it?
My textbook said so, and my textbook never lies.
Ever.
And a lot of people, have asked the question, what is the reason that the Georgia Guidestones were destroyed? And I think, honestly, because one of the things that you guys did when you guys were out on tour, Austin, is you did that time lapse through that hole of the Georgia Guidestones. That was absolutely devastating.
Yeah, and you know what's so what's so crazy is when you go up to it with the naked eye, you can see Polaris. Like when you go up with the naked eye, you can only see Polaris. It's right there. It's point blank. But when you try to zoom in with the P900 through that, I think it's 27-inch diagonal cut, you can't get Polaris in the camera. So you can only get the time lapse where clearly the center's right on the hole, and then you can look at it with the naked eye. But yeah, I can't believe that no one had done that.
And we got to remember, Ptolemy, when he named it Stella Polaris in Latin means the pole star. So it would have moved 27 degrees, something like that, along its precession path since he named it. Why is it our pole star? Why would he name it the pole star if it wasn't the pole star back then? There were stars that were closer, according to their little model in their charts, that were just as bright and could have been used.
Why does none of our modern day software for astronomy show this precession taking place in a few thousand years? Because it doesn't happen.
They claim he even had 900 years of Greek astronomers' notes to go on. So why would he name any star the pole star? Wouldn't you just give it a name? You wouldn't name it the pole star because it's not always going to be the pole star.
Yeah, but to claim it was Thuban and to claim that it's going to be Vega, there is no evidence that's nonsense. Complete nonsense. Let's continue.
The precession is extremely slow. Any thoughts?
So over 18 years, we should have seen a misalignment between our axis of rotation, allegedly, and Polaris.
Yeah, you can, just not with the naked eye. The change is very tiny.
Now, no, you can't. Not even with the telescope, because that change is not there, Dave. God.
The globe Earth proponents say there used to be a different North Star 6,000 years ago, and there will be another new North Star in another 6,000 years. But that's just kicking the can out so far that nobody can observe it in the future. I mean, we're all going to be long gone in 6,000 years.
I'm sorry that astronomical phenomena don't conform to your lifespan. It doesn't make them fake. Also, if this was all made up, why make up this part? Why deliberately introduce the problem of the precession of the rotational axis if it's not needed for anything?
Because they're trying to promote and validate a false model, Dave. That's the whole point. That's the whole reason for the flat Earth movement. Everything that we have been told by our government, by NASA, and by history, large in part, is absolutely false. It's a lie. We're exposing it. Obviously, they're going to do whatever they can do to validate that lie, including make up more lies to give it some credibility.
Appeal to complexity. The more complex they can make it, the more validity they hope they can give it.
Exactly. And you know what? They're failing miserably, Dave. And with spokespeople like you, we're loving it.
It makes no sense. Then comes this bit about the personal dome.
That's all the stars we can see, and the stars lower to the horizon at the edge of that circle, of a 12,000 diameter circle. So as you move, this dome of stars moves with you, or your dome of vision.
We could deconstruct the absurdity of this idea for 10 hours.
No, you couldn't. In fact, I'm almost tempted to have Iru. Do you have that presentation handy of the personal atmospheric dome, Iru?
I need to search, but I can find it. Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's I have here on my hard drive. I can give me a couple of seconds.
If he agrees that refraction is a thing with celestial refraction, then that means everyone should see the sun in a different place. The same thing goes for the stars. Everyone should see the sun or the stars in a different place. It's really that basic, and just off off that common ground.
Yes, this is the basic laws of perspective, and this, what P-Brain is demonstrating here is also the reason why EQ mount, equidistant mount telescopes work, right? What they're doing is they're either focusing on the Polaris on the North Star or somewhere in the middle of Sigma Octantis on the South Star, even though there's not an actual pole star there. And it is a matter of perspective, the distance to the stars and how much they're going to roll over as we move away from them. Iru has demonstrated this in software. We can see it every day in a million different demonstrations. I mean, you guys as flat earthers, you know what I'm talking about here. It is an absolute fact. When you are looking at things above you, they will tend to come down to the horizon. When things are below the horizon, they will tend to rise to the horizon and come in from the sides. That is the way our vision works. And for you to sit there and say that it isn't is absurd. In fact, it's not just the way our vision works, it's the way all optics work, period. So I'm just dumbfounded that anybody could be this stupid that they can't comprehend this. This personal atmospheric dome is absolutely the reality of the way things are. I mean, how can it even be denied?
Yeah, that was definitely one thing they left out in K through 8 was like, I mean, if you took physics in high school, they got into it a little bit,
Or art.
optics, but yeah, art was the only thing they taught you about the laws of perspective. In science, no science class I ever was in did they talk about vision and how optics work, like through a circular aperture, and that's like cameras, telescopes, our eyes, pretty much most other animals' eyes, not all eyes are perfect circular optics. But yeah, it's, they have it down to a, dare I say it, science almost. That's why they call them laws.
I have here, I am presenting. And one of two things. I remember, for example, this Unreal, it's Unreal 3 or Unreal 4, where you can see just simulated and closer and smaller sun, which is that point of light. We are seeing from above the atmosphere. What is illuminating here is because when people talk about night and day in our model, at least, you must start to incorporate the ionization of our gases. That is why where the light source is near, you're going to have the blue sky. And around that area, outside of that area, is going to be a black sky, not because we don't have any gases, noble gases there, but it's because the light source, which we believe that produce electricity and magnetism, is not interacting because the local source is very, near to a spot, and the rest is just not influencing. That is why we have night sky. At least that is how I understand. But if you give me a couple seconds, I'm going to show what I mean. But if you go, for example, from this model, if you go inside of that model, and remember this is a simulation, here you can see from the ground what you can see with the sounding rocket. You're gonna see a point of light that its appearance to go up, but that is just matter of perspective, refraction, and how the atmosphere bends the light, etc., etc. But here you can see we can simulate even with a little bit of clouds in the simulation, and then the appearance for the observer, because we are very, very small, the appearance is like a straight path, but the simulation is always turning like in a circle. Okay, then we can also observe. Let me just go a little bit forward. You're gonna see the disappearance of the light source, like if it's just bending, cutting in the bottom part. Sorry for the.
Does this have clouds on there, Ira, or you don't even have clouds showing?
In the simulation, we have cloud. Yeah.
Oh, you do have.
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't see them.
Yes, that kind of the quality is very, very, very poor. I know that because it's an old video. So here we have just a simple comparison with reality. It's just that. And what I mean, let me just, because I just open the file, so sorry if I don't very organized. But for example, what I'm trying to say about the noble gases, it's give me 1 second. I don't know if I have it here. I think I don't. Maybe yeah, I think I have it. Some of these slices here, for example, for me this is a compatible model in terms of that we have noble gases in our atmosphere, and if you expose those gases to electricity and magnetism, you can produce the same colors based on the distance and the interaction with the source that we have in the sky. And it's like a Doppler effect, but with, instead of the sound, it's based on light distance. We can produce tiny little storms, we can produce lighting, we can produce the whole gradient color from the light source to the rest of the sky. And please interrupt me if I don't explain myself good. Okay.
No, you're doing great, Ira.
Okay.
Yeah, I have it too. I have this set up, but I have a couple extra gases added on, and one of them is just air, and it lights up the baby blue of a clear blue sky. Perfect. It is.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
Yeah. So what P-Brain said for me is very compatible. I don't know exactly if 6,000 miles around it. Maybe could be a little more, a little less, depend of the time of the year, whatever. But this is just like the model of the light. You're gonna have like an inverse square law in terms of the light intensity from the source to outside of the source. Then this is going to be translated in this type of manifestation in our real life. So it's not difficult to understand why we have night and day, or black sky and blue sky. It's nothing else, nothing with the abstraction based on geometry. It's just light source dependent.
Yeah, it only goes so far. Like light does. Yeah.
Like that, exactly. So let me get back a little bit. Well, then we have remember that we also always also we have the anti-crepuscular lights rays, that at least in my opinion that shows that we need to take into consideration perspective when we talk about parallel lights, no parallel lights, circular, omnidirectional light, things like that. But again, this is never addressed, or at least I never see people from the globe head addressing that part of the anti-crepuscular rays. This is what P-Brain said. For me, it's very, at least I take into consideration, it's nothing crazy. In fact, if I go into very quickly, if I go to stratospheric balloon, we can see from here, this is 35, 36 kilometers above the atmosphere. Here you can see the omnidirectional light source. This is not the spherical Earth. Doesn't have anything to do with the geometric shape. This is just the appearance, because our local light is, our sun is a local light source. It's near, and it's produce an omnidirectional spread of the light. So you're gonna have this type of observing how the lights react. This robotic arm is just chasing the sun, is occluding the sun, because they want to focus only in the behavior of the propagation of the light. And here you can see omnidirectional shadows from the light there. I don't know if you understand what you're trying to say.
Nope,
But
we understand you perfectly.
okay, for me, this is a near local light spreading in omnidirectional way. The light, it's interacting with the noble gases, and we can see the obstruction of the light producing this shadow in the radial type thing. Of course, we cannot see from very high, because this is the perspective that we have from this stratospheric balloon. But for me, this is match with the local and small light source, not a super big sun, 150 million of
Exactly.
kilometers, blah blah blah.
Because obviously, in the flat Earth model, the sun would be way too small to yield the amount of daylight that we get out of it, right? So obviously, the noble gases have to play a role in this, and they do. And to the degree in which they match reality, as far as their layering at sunrise and sunset, to how they're stimulated by electromagnetic fields, it's dead nuts on. I mean, we've all seen the Dan Dimension video, and man, there's no denying that. There just isn't.
Yeah, here we have that video.
Yep.
Here we can see. Of course, this is a small version of that, but here I think I have it a little bit more. No, this is just the aurora borealis. Yeah, no, that is another video. This one from a stratospheric balloon. You can see here the sun in the front spreading all its lights, and then when the balloon turns 180 degrees, you can see the night sky without the stars in this case. But for me, this is much perfectly small local sunlight. And then here we can reproduce those interaction with the gases and produce the same color as the sunsets and as the sunrises. So again, what I'm trying to say at the beginning of the show is that when people start talking about all these night and day phenomena in our world, they don't have access to this type of experimentation, and either with electricity and magnetism. So they're trying to explain in a mechanical way, maybe, and that's fine for that time, but we are living in the 21st century. We have we have another technology to prove that
exactly
theory.
We have so many technologies that are able to prove everything that we're saying, and the Globers just simply do not acknowledge them. Laser interferometry and accelerometers should easily be able to detect the motion of the Earth, and yet they don't, right?
No.
They should be able to detect perihelion and aphelion, right? And different orbital cycles or different parts of the orbital cycle as we go around the sun. They don't, right? None of these motions are discoverable. And like I said, it's absurd, but they have to go to two flat earthers to claim their proof of curvature and Earth rotation, me and Jern, which just shows you the level of desperation these clowns have.
Yeah,
It's bad.
this is the video maybe that you were referencing before, but
Yep,
this is
that's it.
okay. This is a simple simulation based on a NASA paper, because this thing here is provided by NASA, and NASA said that for astronomical observation you cannot consider this part here, this gradient here, you cannot take into consideration, because that is where the most Fata Morgana is taking place. So it's something that you need to just don't take into account in that area. That this is a paper from NASA. I can show you the original paper, but the simulation is like this. We have a camera inside this inside here. This is the inside camera. That is just a simple rectangle as a reference that we are inside looking this direction. And then we have an outside view, another outside view, and another outside view. This outside view is with the sun crossing in this direction, and this two is the sun crossing this direction. Of course, the sun never is going to move up and down. It's just a linear cross over the surface of the Earth, which in this case is always flat. And when you create this atmosphere dome, is because we are living inside of an atmosphere dome, personal dome, based on the vapor that we have in the air and other gases. And when you create the simulation, the light source is always be parallel to the surface of the Earth, moving in a linear fashion. And with the sun is approaching, for example, right now, you can see here the shadow, how behave the shadow. Shadow start going to grow towards the horizon line. And here is something where the observer has the midday. It's like 12 o'clock in the midday. The sun, it's going to be over the head of the observer. But if you see from outside, you're going to see how the light is going to appearance to be going down, because you are not looking at the actual light source. You just are looking an object being refracting in the atmosphere, and it's not anyway,
Exactly. Thus giving us our apparent view of the sun, its apparent position. And that's the whole thing, right? It's unbelievable.
Here
So there
you
you
can
have
see
it.
the difference.
And this is exactly what Professor Dave is denying, that perspective and vision works this way. It most certainly does work this way. I mean, we can simulate it. Dear just did it with the computer simulation. We have a million examples of it. We could go on and on and on, providing demonstrations all day long, because that's all we have is evidence, evidence, evidence. And the ballers will just sit there and go, "Nuh-uh, you guys are retards."
Yeah, and in fact, this is the original paper from NASA that I mentioned before. It's the observatory of NASA in understanding astronomical refraction here. And when you reach the page, this page, I cannot recall exactly the number of the page. You can read that this is, supposedly the surface of the Earth, and this is 20 degrees above the surface of the Earth, if you take into consideration like 180 like this. So in this first area, they say that the observer at zero on the surface of the flat Earth, because they assume that the Earth is flat from the local observer.
Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that, between parentheses, of course, and blah blah blah. What they are telling you is that it doesn't matter how high you go. It doesn't matter if this is in the mountain or on the surface, very low in terms of the altitude. You always gonna have that deformation because it's based on the angle of the observation. It doesn't matter how high you go or how down you are.
Yeah, this has to do with physics and optics again, the
Yeah.
limitations due
Yeah.
to a circular aperture and what
E-
happens.
Exactly. So here is a few examples from the real life. For example, we have in the ocean the sunset. Then you have, for example, the well-known case of this Icelander. You have the rider of the bicycle and the boat in the ocean disappearing based on that angle. Only is the angle that's matter in this case. And then, for example, we can go really high, 3,000 meters, and you can see the same phenomena happen just in that area where the light of the time lapse is starting to screw and blah blah blah, shaking a little bit, because again it's based on the angle, not on the vertical height. Here we can see the sun disappear, but just in that angle with respect to the observer, of course. So they never take into consideration none of these phenomena: the angular resolution, the Rayleigh criteria, the perspective, the fata morgana. We are still waiting for only one example of an object that supposedly is of curve behind a geometrical curve appearance and floating into the earth. But they cannot provide that. That is complete fantasy.
They do it over and over and over again. They always say the flat Earth doesn't work, but they keep neglecting the atmosphere. They keep just showing these demonstrations of the flat Earth with no atmosphere whatsoever, and it doesn't work. See, yeah, it's kind of like ripping your cars off the tires off your car and saying, that car doesn't work because it doesn't have any tires.
Yeah, and once I
epitome of straw manning.
Exactly, and this is a really, for me at least, understandable example. For example, this is a glass sphere. We have a lamp inside, and imagine that the sun is this thing here, because we never see the actual source maybe when we are on the ground. So an observer here is make all the calculations here, for example. And if I change perspective, that light source is going to be like inside that area, but that is not the actual position of the sun. I just showed this because this is for us what the air does in our world, in those gigantic hundred of kilometers of air compressed, in our daily basis life,
Yep.
So
all right, cool. Well, that's beautiful, Iru. And as usual, you covered that beautifully. And my God, it's 6 o'clock almost, so we probably had to cut this short. There's still a little bit left, but it's mostly ad-homs and a bunch of BS and nothing that we can't easily dismiss. If you guys want to take this up again on another show, we can. Otherwise, let's just heckle the hell out of Professor Dave until his ego can't stand it anymore.
Yeah, I will
he
say,
needs
like,
to
I did
debate Austin. He needs
did a
to.
video where I called him out and I showed the DMs and everything, like showed them. And I was like, just go comment on his videos and be like, are you scared to debate Witsit? Debate Witsit? And he was just deleting the comments, from my understanding. So
yeah, well, do something like that on your channel, and then I'll mirror it here, and I'm sure we could get a lot of people to mirror it. Start putting the pressure on it, because the one thing that will speak volumes is when you have his viewers who think he's just God, right? Saying, "What are you afraid of? This guy's a dumb flat earther. Just debate him." That's going to speak volumes.
He did a podcast recently where he was interviewed by a guy, and he just attacks flat Earth the whole time. So I think Austin and I were we just hadn't gotten around to it, to do a video where we go through that one, and then Austin can challenge him some more. So we'll try that.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna try to get a bunch of the Globers to go in there and say a comment like, "I'm a Glober. Flat Earth is incredibly stupid," and one of their best debaters, or at least what they consider one of their best debaters, is Witsit, gets it, and please, you got to debate him, blah, blah, blah. Like, if I think from both angles. But yeah, I think that doing it with you, Jaron, or like I may also do a little short record. Like you said, you can mirror it maybe, Bob, but like I'll record via OBS just a short video, like bow, 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 or maybe edit it a little bit and just try
Yeah,
to
if you
circulate
do, we
that.
have to make it slightly different on my channel. Otherwise, they'll take away my monetization because they have zero tolerance for me doing that now. I can't
Yeah.
even remotely mirror anybody else's video or they do. Oh, you lost monetization for a month. It's like, you
Yeah.
bastards.
In a way, I understand that they just want original content in a way because so many people are so shysty by just stealing people's stuff. But that's like one of the things I can understand their argument, I think. But anyway, yeah, we could just change a little bit, right? And then like Jaron, you and I can just do a stream where if you want to be Dr. Jaron, then I'll be something else. But I think we should literally only refer to each other as like the made up fictitious titles.
Like
I say Pope Jaron the first.
Or Pope Jaron and Cardinal Whitsit. I don't know.
Yeah, Pope Jaron the First is pretty funny. It's got a nice ring to it.
Does sound good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, but you needed the authorization of the Jesuits to become a pope.
Oh, I went to Jesuit school. I have all the authorization I need. Let me tell you.
You need to talk with me, man.
All right.
Yep, so true. And the things that we didn't get to cover, of course, were, people, their claims that, Antarctic can have 24-hour sunlight, and that supposedly debunks the flat Earth model. That is not true at all. The coffee cup caustic is a real phenomenon. We see it all over the place. And it is a perfect, beautiful, made to fit explanation for 24-hour daylight in Antarctica, but not sunlight. Of course, they're still struggling with the sunlight because they haven't come up with CGI good enough or simulators good enough to pull that one off yet, which honestly surprises me at this point. But nevertheless, eventually they're probably going to get it, but not today. So there we have it. So, okay, guys, I guess we will go ahead and wrap up the show then. I'm going to go around one more time for everybody just to let everybody know what you're doing. And then we will call it a show and get out of here. So, Zach, we'll go with you first up and go from there.
All righty. Yeah. As usual, Iron Realm Media, real early in the morning. We do an ironwork show and then a Friday night show in the afternoon. But really, right now, it's all about getting everything all polished up and cleaned up for Flattoberfest and, making sure everything's all nice and pretty. And yeah, I'm excited. We got like 3 weeks, less than. So yeah, very cool.
Almost there. Can hardly wait. Cool.
And we got some stuff in the background that we're going to be working on that I'm really excited about too. I can't wait for all this to take place. Yeah.
And it's going to be like Christmas for Austin when you take all those toys over there.
I know. Yeah, you're not just getting the Van de Graaff. You're going to get a whole, because I don't play with a lot of my toys anymore. I mean, it's mostly just Tesla coils now. But yeah, you're going to have fun. I already know it.
Cool. Okay, Kyle, what do you got coming up, sir?
This Tuesday, we're doing conspiracy night at my local library. We've kind of turned that into a monthly meetup, and it just let people come in from whatever conspiracy theories they're into and come talk about them, and we'll see what kind of gems show up. But last month we did this, and for the first time, and we had a great turnout, and I'm telling you, like, my goosebumps wouldn't stop like the entire time, and I was hardly doing much of the talking. I was just listening to what other people had to say, and I had a great time. So it's really fun.
What were they talking about? Just out of curiosity.
They were talking about all kinds of stuff. One person, she said she was, she took the state of Missouri to court. I think it was Missouri, when she caught them like putting a bunch of like bad stuff in the water. And so she was in this big court case of suing the city for water contamination and all this other kinds of stuff. And man, I wish I could remember like half of like everything that was said last time, but it was just really fun. And just we talked about everything from like 9/11 to all this other stuff, but it was great stuff.
Cool. Very good. Yeah, that I imagine that there are a lot of people out there that there's so many conspiracies, and like I said, I discovered a long time ago that most of them fit into the realm of conspiracy fact, and theory is that's way too outdated. Most
Yeah.
of them are fact.
So I've been really trying to get myself out there locally as much as I can to kind of build the community around here. Because on the Clock app, we've only got like 40 app users right now. But I'm like, oh, well, we try. But I've seen personally that there's a lot more flat earthers in the area that just don't have the app, or not that I'm aware of. And so I've been taking my kids out onto the street corners here, raising our "Abolish NASA" sign, and it's just been really fun just to see the positive reactions we've been getting out of that. I've got just random people, 8 inches per mile square. And, I was like, yeah. And so I don't have to say anything about the flat earth, but they see "Abolish NASA" and they know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there who don't know. And so I like the soft approach of just saying, just making it about the money. What does NASA, what does Mars or the moon have to do with any of that? And like 9 times out of 10, they'll nod their head. Yeah, that makes sense. We shouldn't be wasting our money. NASA's just empty space.
Well,
when it comes
the people are waking up. It's as simple as that, and the elites are in panic mode. And
it's been really fun getting my kids out there to see just how many supporters we really have. And there's nothing to be ashamed of.
Nothing to be ashamed of. But one thing that people should take note of is that obviously like a cornered animal, these people have all the power, and they will do something really severe, would be my guess. And so we always have to look out for that.
So when we get out there on the street corner and we can get people cheering for us as they're driving, but and like climbing out of their seats to cheer us on, that's really exciting. And it shows, at least it's drawing my kids here, that we're not alone. And we don't have to be embarrassed by being. It's not necessarily a taboo topic, not as much as some people, like close family members, might be afraid of. You talk about flat Earth, and that can really quickly become a very controversial taboo topic. Oh, we don't want to talk about him. We don't want to associate with him. But all of a sudden, you start talking about abolish NASA. It shows. It shows, and it's nowhere near as much of a controversial topic. People really support it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. Iru, what do you got coming up, sir?
As usual, keep working. I am very active in Rockfin and in my own personal server in mptmedia.tv, not just with Spanish content, but also with English content. And, I am very busy, if you want to see in that way, with the Spanish people. I am making almost every day live streams, and we are having a lot of repercussion in the media, and we are growing. I don't say pretty fast, but I'm for example, I installed a chat service in my webpage, and every day I'm contacting like 100 people, new people, and talk with them. And it's like this movement never stop, and I think never will going to stop. It's growing and growing and growing, so it's a matter of time.
Yep. The last few videos on your English channel have been awesome. Really, really good.
Oh, thank you, man. That take a lot of time to put together, but I'm trying to do it.
Awesome. Okay. And Austin, let's move over to you. I see you found, I was going to ask you if you had seen this, and obviously you did. Crazy. I don't know what to say about this. You know what I did is I just unsubscribed from all these guys because I'm done with them. But at least other people are starting to see the crap that's going on. So thank God for that.
Yeah. Yeah, same. I'm unsubscribed, but I guess Brian just sent me that.
Yeah.
And I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I did too. It's funny because he's blatantly lying. It's like, why do they need to do that? Why? I just don't understand. You got
I mean, who cares, right? I mean, it's obvious why when you have to lie, like that's what ballers do. Anyone that's seen any of my debates, what the baller always does is they respond with a straw man. Like if you say you can't privately and freely explore past 60 south latitude, like you're so stupid. My cousin went there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have to lie and straw man and then funding mute and then can't debate fairly without interruption with the moderator. Then it's almost always because you're wrong and can't actually defend your position. And that's it. I mean, you know, it's whatever. I just think it's funny because that thing has progressed to. That's actually the only reason I went on that show was because I knew I'd be able to say what I wanted to say, and that they would have to. It would like ripple over there, and that's the only reason I did it. And so cool. And like I don't even care about them at all. I think they're lame. So yeah, I just dropped in the chat in case anyone wanted to see because I think it's funny. And I think he's going to put a compilation together of both of them saying that for like 7 years, and so that'll pretty much sum all that up, and we can just move on. And yeah, so I'm supposed to be debating Bryant Myers, the BSMA physicist that was on Jaren's show, or the four of us, Hibbler, me, Dave, and Jaren talked to him. He's supposed to be on my show debating. I think we're going to try to do Friday night, if that works for Jaren. Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, with Jaren as the moderator on my channel. So that should be cool.
Do you think Jaren can do as good of a job as MC Toon?
I think he's probably got it. Yeah. Might have to practice with him off the air for a little bit, and we'll work on it. And let's see what else I got. Yeah, I'm working on a few edited videos, intros. I pulled up DaVinci, the editing software, and I'm just like, bro, what is going on? So I have to learn that. So I'm still stuck with this little like online software. But anyway, trying to make some new intros for my shows and get those rolled out. So I should be having like my regular schedule of certain shows. So that should be cool. Trying to smooth out OBS. And
hey, have they gone down your street yet, rolling the fiber? Fiber optics?
I don't know.
Because AT&T is doing that here in Spartanville. We had it installed. Well, they installed the fiber about 2 weeks ago, and so I would imagine it's going to be lit pretty soon.
Okay, nice. Let's not say exactly where I am. Yeah, but
I'm not going to say where you are, but you're you're here in the neighborhood, sort
of.
Yeah.
I'm in South Carolina. Yeah. But so yeah, I don't care. I just know that Kai doesn't like that. That would be cool. I know AT&T rocks out on the upload, so that would be cool to switch over.
You get a full gigabyte on the upload speed.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like when they tested it, it actually gets like hundreds and hundreds of upload speed, which is a freaking game changer. But yeah, so I think I'm gonna eventually get all that running pretty smooth. So it should be cool. I'm actually gonna try to work on a full album. I think that'll be cool. And Kai and I are gonna have try to make a couple songs for Flattoberfest. And Jaren and I got something going on. I'll let him cover that if he wants to. And yeah, so we got a lot of stuff coming up. It should be cool. And hopefully we just keep elevating. And, I think you guys will enjoy the new content.
Yeah, it's been very, very surprising. I mean, you're covering a really broad range of topics. And a lot of the stuff you're covering is stuff that I covered back in the early days of Globebusters. So it's I kind of like seeing it come back up again. It's neat. Not that I'm saying you're plagiarizing or anything like that, but it's just neat to see it being covered again.
Yeah, because I think sometimes we forget about, like, we find out truth and then we just kind of go on and then we get kind of caught up in whatever's going on, whether that be like drama or whatever, Globers. But like I want to start doing TikToks, and because when you do a live stream, you can do a trailer. So I plan on all my what I call gravy streams having a trailer, and then I'm going to put that video all over TikTok and Instagram, and then do different TikToks. So the idea, anyway, is that I'm going to get a bunch of people over to the channel as much as possible from outside platforms. And so I want it to be where they go there, they can see like these topics, because some of them don't know it. And if I can make it intriguing enough that truthers still enjoy it, then that's kind of the idea. So I don't want it to just be flat earth. Like, for example, if someone's like not really too interested in flat earth, or they're cognitus, we'll let them look into it, but they like are obsessed with weather modification by the government, then maybe they'll be like, captivated by that stream and then stick around or like hear me talking about the earth and stuff like that.
I can't believe how many people are in denial of that. I mean, and those NextRad stations and the way that they work, it's very obvious. There's a website called Weather Wars that was really outstanding, that did some really fabulous coverage on it. But it's real, people. I mean, the Air Force bragged about being able to have total control of the weather by 2025.
Yep.
And I think they've had it for a while, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, dude, I was showing stuff from the 60s. They steered a hurricane and it hit Savannah, Georgia, admittedly. So, like,
Mhm.
that's wild. I wish I had known about that website, and I heard a lot about NextRed, like, later. But, yeah, I think
Well,
that should really make people think, like, what is going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, these people obviously have no bounds. I mean, that's like playing the hand of the creator, right? So, I mean, obviously these people are literal psychopaths that have no regard for, what's right. So,
nope, absolutely right. It's sad, and that's who we're fighting against. But we'll just keep doing it until we can't do it anymore.
yes, sir.
All right, cool. All right, and last but not least, over to you, Jaron. What do you got coming up, sir?
Oh, busy. Just the normal things. And then, like Austin said, him and I had been talking. We've had some late evening talks. In fact, I think I broke my all-time record for longest phone call last night. I'm so embarrassed about it, I'm not even going to say the amount of time. But Austin and I were on the phone forever last night. And
longer than our long phone calls?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you know the number. But yeah, we were thinking of ways to bring people together and just kind of get back to center and kind of, get a good direction going. And we talked about having a summit or some sort of conference. And we knew that we wanted it to be something that we could, get good people. We wanted good speakers and keep the price down. And we also wanted to reward speakers for, help support them. So we didn't know if we wanted to have people from different audiences, right? So that new people would be introduced to us and that our audiences would be introduced to new people. So we didn't know if we'd be able to pull it together, and we just started reaching out to people, and it fell into place beautifully. So going on sale tomorrow is going to be tickets for the first ever True Earth Mount Meru Summit, and it will be on Friday and Saturday, the 11th and 12th of this year. And so it's just like 5 weeks to go. And like I said, tickets are on sale tomorrow. And there'll be a 50% off coupon that you can get from any of the speakers. So you'll hear about it tomorrow, I'm sure. And that supports them. They get a piece of that pie. And so, so we wanted some entertainment. So we got, Chris Crum to do some music before the event starts on both days. And then we got Conspiracy Music Guru's going to perform live. So that's a good start. We're going to finish up Saturday with some comedy. So we've got the viral sensation himself, Primetime 99, Alex Stein, going to do some stand-up comedy, and he'll be followed by the legend himself, Owen Benjamin, is going to join us. So that's fantastic. And we have a third comedian who's not confirmed yet, but I can't mention his name, but we'll just say you can look into it. Possibly going to be there. And so that already is worth the price, but we have our keynote speaker at 11:11 on 11:11 will be David Avocado Wolf. So we've got me and Austin, of course. We've got Dave Weiss and Caleb doing a presentation from TikTok. We've got Amanda Vollmer. We've got the incomparable Iru Landucci, of course. We've got Sean Hibbler. We've got allegedly Dave. We've got Brian from High Impact Flicks. I know I'm missing a bunch of people. But, Bob and Zach are doing a demonstration or presentation. And there's still more people that are considering it. So we've already got the schedule full. We'll be able to pack it full. So we're excited about it. We think it's going to be awesome. And I don't know if I left anything out. Did I leave anything out, Austin?
Yeah, Taboo Conspiracy, Marty Leeds. Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, lots of people.
I mean, Taboo's
I
off.
forgot,
Taboo does some
Ben.
of the
Oh
best-
my God.
Yeah, and Taboo does some of the best presentations that there are. So there's just so much stuff to look forward to. We're excited about it. And yeah, there's going to be only 95 VIP tickets. They go on sale tomorrow, and then everything else is going to be general admission. And that's about it. You can follow my Telegram. I'm sure I'll post, the link and coupon code when I post it, and Austin will do the same. And then you can, get it from anybody. So the good thing is that we're going to have like Amanda Vollmer promoting it to her audience, right? And giving the coupon code to them. So we get that whole audience. David Avocado Wolf's got 125,000 subscribers on Instagram. On Telegram. So he's going to be able to promote it to his followers. And same thing with all these different audiences, promoting it to their people, bringing us all together. We are pretty freaking stoked about it.
Yeah, it's cool. And like I saw someone live streaming option. That's what it is. It's an online summit. So there's VIP, like you basically get the front row access where you're in the actual room, and then there's the private access outside of the VIP tickets, which there are only 95 of them.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that's just to answer that question. So it should be cool. It sounds awesome. There's gonna be a bunch of perks that come with it as well. So like individual perks from each speaker. So I think it's gonna be awesome. Like a high vibration, get together, wide span of information. So Sounds good.
You betcha. That's awesome, guys. This is going to be so much fun. We need stuff like this. And of course, everybody, don't forget, we have on the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, the Flatoberfest coming up here in Greenville, South Carolina. And Karen be putting that on, and get your tickets because we're getting there quick, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you keep that in mind, and we hope to see everybody there as well. All right.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
Yep. So, all right, guys. Well, that's it. We will see you on the next one. And until then, be good to each other. Don't lie to each other. Open your mind because there's truth inside. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.
Peace.